You're doing very well, Tom.
Don't condescend.
You're
That means
excellent work here.
That means
excellent.
talk down to.
You might get paid, Tom. You just may get that.
God, that's the oldest
contract.
George Burns line from like 23 vaudeville.
Well, I live back
Because
then.
I won't condescend to the audience.
Yeah.
He used to come out and say, I won't condescend to the audience. That means talk down to. Anyway,
Reintroduce the tape.
Sounds like something.
How long was that? An hour?
2 hours.
Oh, we only got 2 hours left. Shit.
can I pee?
Only-
Yes, I have to pee. Because we have to bring up
yeah,
pee.
go pee. Yeah.
We have to bring up pee.
So Tom.
Let Bob, you continue. He can.
No, Tom has to be here. Tom, one thing, think about this. We're going to get Scott's final statement, because he's wrapping up
Yeah, the
Lynch. And we're going to move out of Lynch into whatever. Because, I mean, Scott synchronized
The
it.
situation he puts the actors into, though, by taking what it is they do and then putting it
Matching it to his formula.
to his formula,
Yeah.
is the situation that all people are in any structural, societal structure.
Today, because they're
the
matching
world.
it to the machine's formula. Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are having to live under the machine's formula.
Yeah, that's right.
So we are all in their, we are all identify with those actors, but we don't know why.
Yeah,
Because of this effect that's been created.
Right. Good. We want to get that on tape.
It's on tape. We're not stopping. Keep going.
Oh, we're not doing an intro?
No.
Okay.
Just go.
Oh, so we can catch up a lot of stuff. Tom's not here. We can. Okay. So let's get Scott's statement on, and then you
Stand
can.
over here, Scott, when you talk. Speak up.
Tom, we're in progress, Tom.
So xenochrony is anti-environment to synchronicity. Synchronicity is anti-environment to xenochrony. You get balanced to one side or the other, you bring in the other one.
I wouldn't bring in the balance. Xenochrony is the anti-environment to synchronicity. That's the fact. And well, that's a problem for us as long as the machines are in control, but it's not a problem after 1990. Synchronicity doesn't exist. Synchronicity is like what people fall back on when they give up fighting with the problem. The xenochrony is an anti-environment to synchronicity. You know what I mean?
Most people don't even recognize or identify with
They go to New Age and go into
Xenocracy-
synchronicity. They go to Krishnamurti. You know?
Xenocracy is more real, and the synchronicity is a product of our mind.
If you think of mind as a matching thing. Yeah.
As that closure term that Nancy
Yeah,
uses,
closure.
as that
Yeah, that's a good point. Synchronicity is closure, and xenochrony is the environment that
is
looks for the
open-ended
crying out
equation
for.
that we're actually in. There
right.
not a formula. We are in an open-ended equation, but
Yeah.
we're having to fit within the equation
Right.
of the director,
Which is the machine.
Which is the machine.
Yeah, and the machine is doing xenochrony because it has disappeared. That's why the ground is xenochrony.
So it's not thinking; it's just xenocracy.
That's right.
By nature.
It's robotically
doing
xenocronous.
anything if it disappeared. If
Beg your
it
pardon?
disappeared, If the machine disappeared, how can it be doing anything?
Well, that's the homeopathic. It's disappeared. It's invisible, but it's still happening. It's homeopathy. You know, it's invisible, but still more potent.
It's diluted.
Diluted.
It's diluted, but but the dilution actually makes it more potent.
Right. And more imploded, and gets more done faster. So that is now that homeopathic situation has stopped, either 77 or 90, depending on what Bob and Connie are, because Bob and Connie can be a homeopathic retrieval of something, but that's really not that would be talked about after the fact if Bob and Connie is proven. You know what I mean? So the machines have been homeopathic, and maybe they have not made it to 1990. They only made it to 1977.
Jerry, what's your number here? 306
7330.
7330, right?
Yeah.
I gotta leave it. It's local.
Go ahead.
It might be better to refer to them as homeopathic or microscopic, because when you use the term disappeared, it's almost as if they've vanished into non-existence.
They have. Well, homeopathy is they can't measure it. There's just a memory trace, and the memory trace is Bob and Connie. That's what the guy Ben Venice proved in France in 1987-88. He said the substance went farther, tinier and tinier and tinier, and then there was no substance more, but the memory of the substance was still there. And he said, "What the hell is this?" You know, it was an impossibility.
Yeah, but it was still there within the medium of the solution. The water had been recrystallized to hold the memory of the substance,
Right.
which was no longer.
And what is the crystal that holds it together? It's on the chart, the clothing crystal. That's Bob, my fantastic memory.
What about Connie? You said that Connie is a machine.
Up till 1990, we're both machines.
Up till it.
Yeah, because it's all the machines are gone. That's why when I talk about machines, it's an obsolete word and it doesn't refer to anything after 1990. So as Bob as we get closer to the lockdown Bob rule, then we get closer and closer to Bob reference points in the major media that are describing what Bob was talking about up to 1990. So we could say by 1997, or let's say 2015, getting closer to 2020 when lockdown Bob rule is obvious, then you'll see that everything he talked
Maybe a
about,
refill? Which?
everything he talked about was
Oh, we on? Oh, we're rolling.
we're on. Everything that Bob talked about was describing events before 1990. Because all those problems are gone since 1990. But it's a matter of making contact with Bob and Connie to get the effects. And then as it spreads and spreads, more people get contact, then more and more people can get it somehow without it needing direct access. But probably they have some kind of direct access. If they get access to what we're selling.
The product.
Bob,
Yeah.
here's a technical question. If movie medium is hot,
Hey, hold the question. So maybe Bob is the memory. B-O-B.
that's a medium. You said that
Yeah, Bob's
not
the medium.
Well, you said Bob's not a medium, but that's
Not a machine
memory's
medium.
He's in touch with mediums, though, right?
Right. Bob is the medium that goes beyond 1990. That's homeopathic, you
The
know.
new medium, which is a retreat
New
from the
medium.
old medium, because before pre-literate societies had incredible memory because they functioned on memory.
Speaking of memory,
Memorex.
What's that?
Okay,
So
he has a question,
here's a
Tom.
technical question. The movie medium is
Hot.
male, and television is low definition.
Cool female.
Cool female. Why do you say Bob is the television screen proliferated around? Because Bob is.
Because I've always said I'm a woman, and particularly a black woman. Because
Where does that bring Connie in if you're a black woman?
Connie doesn't exist
Is
in the
she a
situation.
lesbian?
Yeah, she's that, like I am. We're all these things. You can't, when you're in manipulating tactility, you can't not be anything, you know? So
There really is no Connie if Bob's a woman, because
that's right. The Connie's not, the Connie that is looking at the chart is something that Bob and Connie work towards, and Connie is what comes in the unknown post-1990 reality. That's why she'll surface as a figure over time. See, Bob and Connie are a unit, right? Some kind of interplay. So Bob and Connie are parts. When I say Connie is something after 1990, that kind of refers to something beyond both of them. You know what I mean? But I don't want to say it's Bob because we are enough of Bob. So we'll call the post-Bob period Connie, but it really does still include Bob and Connie.
well, in the Lynch thing, where Bob is a proliferation of the electronic television environment.
Yeah.
What's Connie's role in that?
Laura Palmer, right? Which in the video with Tom 2 years ago.
Content.
Yeah. In the last phases of
So Connie's content in the electronic environment.
Right. And the content rules because there's no ground after 67, no machines. So it's all just constant content which has no reference point. That's
Machines have disappeared.
yeah. And so it's just content, which is just the word making the market. But as I say in the Tom dialogue, Bob and Connie are going to make OJ and Nicole look really pleasant. As you get closer to this realization of the implosion into something new, Bob and Connie really start killing each other.
The machines haven't disappeared. They've gone homeopathic, so
Right.
they've become more present than ever.
And you do more, as I said on the TV 2 months ago, they do more with less. So the final machines from 77 to 90 are Bob and Connie, two machines that are doing everything because it's imploded homeopathically to be that powerful. And then that
Again-
situation is gone by...
Again, though, the machine reference is sort of a misnomer because that brings
Yeah.
the Newtonian idea.
Right.
So what's another technology? More accurate technology.
Any word that someone can use.
Technology.
Whatever the person wants, whatever word they want to call it. But yeah, we'll use that word, So you start off with a word, and Bob is interactive, I'll correct. I'm subject to correction if you want to offer your word.
I think that criticism is a little bit too literally critical. Or in other words, it's a nitpick on a thing that doesn't matter for the people who are trying to, like this one, trying to get some kind of handle on something that they can identify with. So machine is as good as it.
Yeah, that's right. He's been around a lot longer, so he knows more about that.
But he should know better.
He shouldn't, but he's not Bob, so he doesn't know better.
But he ought to know better.
It invokes ideas of industrial technology.
Of course it does, but you already knew at the end
See,
of
I
that.
just think of computers, and cameras, and TV.
Think of the electronic environment.
The electronic environment
Okay.
is machines.
Yeah.
Or the various media.
Assuming we can.
But the machines are us, remember. They're extensions of our broken open skull, right? Because we have First Nature has the machines already in First Nature.
You can localize it, though. Most specifically, the machine we most are is television.
Yes. That's
In America, anyway. The
Well, no,
machine
the whole
we
world,
most
Tom.
are.
That's the most-
No, some
that's the
societies
most
are
common
shovels,
extension of the
you know,
machine, but the
still.
machine is thought
Agrarian.
now any one of these guys could argue with that point. That's
Well, that's the point. That's why I brought it up.
undergraduate work.
That's why I brought it up.
But that's why you tell people to turn the TV
That's
off.
post-intimate.
Otherwise,
not just postgraduate.
Pretty intimate.
It's preeminent.
Yeah.
Tom is right. Otherwise, we wouldn't be encouraged to turn the TV off.
Don't say that. He'll be mad about that later.
No, I
No,
would be.
no. He knows that it won't happen. But
I never get mad, but I'll say I'll get mad. The thing is,
You know what Joe Kennedy once said? Don't get mad.
just kidding.
Get Jewish.
did he say that? He didn't. Okay. Because it's important on the chart. The Rai, Eloy, 2, and Lofty. If you notice, they're all variations of a TV screen. Disciplinary TV, sacrificial TV, experimental TV, surveillance TV, and crash TV. So the 5 forces above the chart are all TV.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So let's go beyond all this cliche of TV as a cool medium and all. That's all smokescreen.
Yes.
Let's talk about you're knocking off.
Yes.
Are you? Let's give them some active duties here. Because as they say in Big Tuna, when all the gallery of grotesques, that you and Connie, we haven't even talked about any of the themes in Lynch. You know, like a guy named Sailor.
Yeah.
He goes to Big Tuna. You know, we haven't talked about anything. So let's deal with some of the themes. Let's deal with some of the realities
Okay.
of all this.
The particularities, I guess.
The particularities. Yeah, let's particularize it on down.
Sub-theme.
No more cool and hot and all that. That stuff.
Arcane,
That stuff.
info,
That stuff.
Illuminati.
That stuff.
Go ahead.
Because I always said in 20 years, Venice Beach will be where the MC5 were in 1969.
Where was that?
Well, when they had their little cobbles where everybody would talk about the Masons or whatever. Or at least there would be a house band in every garage.
Yeah.
Venice hasn't gotten to that.
So you have to bring out these details because I don't know what ones to bring up.
Well, which ones would you most like to talk about?
Well, I like to talk about the Disappearance Act. You know, about
Well, we've talked about that pretty much.
Oh, okay.
In terms of video and, you know, the subsuming and all
I'll
that.
tell
We
you
talked
what.
about that pretty much.
I got one in Wild at Heart, which you saw. When they go into the bar in the early, and they come up to this guy, and he looks at him, and he just goes,
Right.
okay?
Okay.
That's a direct reference because I'm the only person that can do that. And I can do it if I have, if I eat bad food and I get a little itchiness, I have to go.
You have to hoik.
I don't hoik, I just vibrate in there.
So it's a glottal click
Yeah,
thing.
a glottal,
It's the click.
glottal fuck, you know, an internal.
The glottal fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck. Fuck.
So you can't. It's very hard to do exact. Yeah, you're going. You know, would be Zappa's duck quack. But
Yeah.
the point is that. the
There's
guy-
also satirizing his movies or cartoons.
right. But,
also.
but let's understand that nobody does that, and Lynch has someone in this movie fucking doing it. How could he found the one personal thing about Bob and stuck it in his fucking movie? Isn't that amazing? That's
So Rumpelstiltskin might have been there, but not in Lost Highway.
Well, Rumpelstiltskin is me, but the sensibility of Rumpelstiltskin is the movie that he won't make. That's why it'll be the movie with me.
Well, we haven't talked
Yeah.
about Willem Dafoe yet. He was Bobby Peru.
Yeah.
Just like the country, he says. Okay?
Bobby Peru.
A third world country.
Now we
Bob
go
in the
to-
third world.
now we get to
and
the
what
ever-
does he do? He's raping her, but with what? Do you remember the scene with Laura Dern where he comes, I gotta pee.
Yeah. What does he?
You
rape
can
her?
listen to me pee. And remember, and he comes out and he rapes her with words. He keeps saying, fuck me,
Right,
fuck
right,
me,
right, right.
fuck me, fuck
Right,
me,
that's the
fuck
scene I
me.
saw.
That's
The only one.
That's Bob, the oral medium. That's the rap rant. That's rap rant on the 5th level of the chart. That's the oral beyond music. Well, it's rap. You know, it's the verbology coming back. Language being the original medium, the tactile medium. Yeah.
So when you were saying Bob was raping Connie, were you raping her with words, or you're talking of real violence that you learned from
Both.
Eddie,
Both.
Mr. Eddie,
Yeah, both.
the Frenchman?
But no, you've touched it. We can make a breakthrough here in terms of.
We have to.
Peru.
We have to.
Yeah, Bobby Peru
We have to.
leads to the Evergreens, which is expressed in Slavic.
Through how? Yage and Burroughs and all that?
No, the Evergreens will. You can go get their tapes on the Peruvian Inca culture, 14,000 BC. It's an incredible explanation of culture before Atlantis, or Atlantis was being built between 40,000 and 10,000 BC. But it shows the incredible culture in South America, the Inca culture. It brings in the UFO content, it brings in the remarkable herbal knowledge. And the Peruvians, they then go into how the Inca natives up in the mountains are going to come down, and Peru is going to be an incredibly prosperous place in the 21st century. So Bobby Peru would be the CIA, Secret Council 10 guy, trying to hijack that inevitable non-white evolution, and he's operating under a grievance over it. So he's raping the Incan, Laura Dern, for what he thinks represents, and trying to claim he's the future. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's all these jokes in there in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, for example, he has USMC on his hand, the tattoo, and Nicolas Cage is sailor, and the sailors and Marines hate each other. You know, they always love to brawl and beat each other up. I mean, there's a million jokes in the movie.
Yeah. When they meet with the
Diane Ladd's name.
Okay, let me throw one in. No, you did one. You remember that, but I
wanted to do two.
When Jack Nance. No, let me throw one in. Jack Nance comes in.
This won't work then, because I have 2 cigarettes sometimes.
Jack Nance comes in, and he's introduced as a rocket scientist. Remember?
Yeah, and he talks about Toto.
Yeah, and they don't, and that's a reference to the movie that Lynch can't seem to get made, the one about Rocket.
Did Nance dying have anything to do with you?
Died at 53.
Did that have anything to do with you?
Fucking go out at 53.
Why did Nance die?
Because Lynch's career was over. That proves my point. Like in Lost Highway.
Well, there's a deeper reason. He was beaten to death. Do Lynch's movies piss people off? Did his characters subconsciously?
You believe that he was beaten to death?
He was beaten to death.
According to what you heard, you weren't there. You don't know.
What do you know about it?
Well, I know that I arranged the murder of him.
For what reason?
To show Lynch to stop. Lynch has to stop. He's going to try to keep going, but he has to stop. So
now you said in the earlier.
Did you allow him to make?
Oh, how many there are? I say Lost Highway's the last one. You know, it's over. And though I will let him.
But you said there will be a biography coming along.
Right.
Of you and Connie.
He has to finish 20 Twin Peaks 25 years from now. That's what he has to finish. But that will be made with me in it. It'll be a documentary.
But when will it be made? When you're 100?
Before 2020.
How old will you be when it's made? 100. Will be your centennial.
I'll be 98 in 2020. Because I'll be 120 in 2020.
You're 75 now.
Yeah.
So in 25 years you will be 100.
Yeah. That's
unless I miss my guess.
That's 2022.
Now, how do you establish that you're 75, given that Bob Dean's body was born in 49?
And you took it over.
That's where the D-cell comes in. Remember, I didn't start taking the D-cell till 69. Now, there's no record of me between 67 and 69, really. There's a few people in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, a few kids.
There are records
but they're
of
on
Bobby
acid.
Dean.
They're on acid. What do they fucking know, right? And so, in 69, when I looked older then than I do now, when I started taking D-cell, I was able to mutate my body back to looking like someone Bobby Dean's age.
Can you or someone prove you looked older then? You said no records exist.
Yes, they record. No
You mean you'll have to ask people, and they'll say, "Yeah, you look really old then."
The Secret Council 10 archives exist that I
But
have.
You
that
have
I
them
have,
all. You have them all,
I
so
have
no
them
one
all.
can really confirm
until
this.
I reveal it.
Well, you're
Until
not going to confirm this, are you?
Yes.
What, is PR for the movie?
Yes.
You'll release some stills or
What I'm
something?
saying will be proven over the next 20 years. You know, that's what I'm saying. As we get closer and closer to proof of what this absurd fantasy people think I'm on now. You know, that I'm Bob Dobbs. I mean, Stang and his church just can't fucking deal with it. They said, this guy, you know, Stang was, they have their rehearsals for X Day, which is just in a few months, July 5th, 1998. They have the rehearsals, X Day drills in western New York State at a place called Brushwood. And so, and they get there, and they're very funny rants, and they're saying,
Beer over your grandmother's
it was the
paisley
last-
shawl.
Listen, Tom, let me finish. So on Stang, he sends his shows out, and he has excerpts. Listen to this, Jerry. So I just heard a show a couple weeks ago. Which he would have made a month or two ago. So he sends out the stage. So I hear these shows in New York, and what it has is an excerpt from the WFMU broadcasting parts of the X-Day drill. They broadcast it from Brushwood by having Stang call in.
Duck and cover.
And the first thing Stang says, hey Jerry, you listen to this. The first thing Stang says
Continue, Bob.
is he's talking to Chris, the guy that I harassed for many, many weeks. He has a talk show Friday night at 6 o'clock in WFMU. I would call up, and I'd start ranting on, and he'd realize me to hang up, and I'd call back, and I'd call back 100 times.
He was screening you off the show,
yeah,
right?
they had to bring the manager station in to help him.
Did they ever put you on?
Well, that's different versions, but what happened is one show I'm proud of, which got on tape. They had to stop the show 40 minutes in it because I was blowing the phones out. So this guy Chris, whatever his name is angry. And he's the guy who interviewed Jim Jarmusch, who talked about Dylan being on the Dylan story, which I've done.
What's the Dylan story?
We'll get to that when we get to Dylan. All right,
cool.
no, that's relevant. We'll get to that.
Like Jarmusch knows anything.
No. And so
dropping acid with
so
Joe
this Chris
Strummer.
guy. So eventually, I get on, and Chris gives up. So he starts like, okay, Bob, say your bit. So I start talking and teasing him and this, and then he gets real mad. And the manager station comes in and says, Chris, just listen, just talk to him. The guy's interesting. Listen to him. So he told Chris to cool it out. And so that happened. So he puts up and we have a nice conversation, and he wins. No, he doesn't win. Yeah, he gets slack.
You gave him the illusion of winning.
No, he didn't win. He got slack. He calmed down. He didn't. Whatever he was afraid of, he didn't have to be afraid. So we had a good conversation. The problem is that a couple of shows, weeks, months before that, before he was told by the station manager to calm down and let me on the air, he was yelling and screaming at me. That tape was sent to Stang. Stang played that on his show. Says, here's Chris killing Bob Dean. It is great. It is great. Gotta go, Chris. So he plays that. But Stang, as far as I know, doesn't get the second phase months later when when the manager tells Chris to cool it and get into the slack of Bob. So what happens that Stang has on his show, July 5th, 1997, from Brushwood, Chris has him on the show. The first thing Stang says is, Chris, I want to thank you. I really love how you beat up Bob Dean. That was unbelievable. I'm sitting here in New York listening to these guys talk about me. And it's a tape from July 5th, but I'm just hearing it now because it's a later show. So he goes on, and Chris goes, yeah, what is it with that guy? What's the problem between you and him? And Stang says, well, I'd rather not talk about that really right now. And so it gets dropped. And he then starts talking about Brushwood and talking about the activities.
So what are the drills like?
They're funny.
What are they doing? Are they levitating?
Well, one of them, see, Jesus.
Like in Fairfield? What are they up to? What is it? Is it like the old duck and cover under the desk?
I figured out. If I don't talk, you keep going. That means I have to interrupt you. I'll answer that. Because I was just waiting, and then you go, what are you doing? What? We kept going. You know what I mean? Yeah. Do it slow, real slow. What they do at the extras is Jesus, this kid, who called Jerry when I infiltrated their tour in '96 at Wetland. The guy called Jerry Steve Ianakel or Steve somebody, and he told Jerry he objected to you were broadcasting my stuff, and he tried to get Jerry to stop it. So we know that was November '95. What's his name? Steve something, I don't know.
Oh, he's been taken care of.
Yeah,
don't worry about that.
But he became Stang's manager, and they all decided he looked like Jesus. And I met him, and he looks like Jesus, the cliche long-haired, soft-faced guy. So he's Jesus. So now he's claiming that Jesus defected to Bob's church. So a lot of the stuff, one of the rituals at the Brushwood is they crucify Jesus. So you hear tapes of them grabbing him, taking him to the woods, they nail him up, and various sub-geniuses are ranting around it. It goes on and on. But usually rants by Papa, Joe Mama, and another guy, his name escapes me, will come up, are very funny, and this rants, and people go up there and just listen and laugh. It's just entertainment. But they don't know it's a literal prediction of what I'm doing and what's going to be done. That's the irony of it. So Stang's tapes will probably be they might make a lot of money after 2020 or even before then, when people realize that's literally a celebration of Bob from 77 to 90, and these guys are ranting it and proving it. So they'll be, and then you'll be able to enjoy it like I enjoy it, because I know they're going to be true. So I enjoy the humor of them as they happen. But for most people, it's just confusing or anarchy or violence or hate speech and all these different limited interpretations. But they are very prophetic, very funny, and it's almost like life at Dobbstown after lockdown Bob Rule. So I don't know why we got onto that. You know, we went on over into Stang. I said something funny. They get laughing, and then I wanted to enhance it. Do you remember what it was? Okay, we don't need it.
I notice, see, the satire is, I notice if I keep looking at Bob, he keeps talking.
Yeah, that's good. Good. And yeah, if you just keep concentrating on looking at me so that I'll have more time to talk. So that means you're not listening. No, you're listening, but you're not going to respond because you're looking. There's a difference between the eye and the ear, which is what you want to get into is the ears.
Oh, no.
So
I don't
you're
wanna get into
working
that.
your ears now by looking at me. By concentrating on looking, then I give you content for your ears, right?
It's not about content.
Right.
Have some diesel water.
Has he had any yet?
Have some.
Okay, so what was the issue we were talking about when I went off on the stank that nobody remembers? Look, you remember, Jerry? Okay, we'll have to go in. So we're going to go into the Evergreens and Dylan. What was the Evergreens? Maybe it was something to do with
I
that.
think it was.
Yeah.
Talking about you could get some tapes from the Evergreen.
Peru.
Or something.
Peru, yes, and
That's how you got off on it.
yeah,
He invoked the name, what was the guy's name?
Bobby Peru.
Bobby Peru. Then you referred to your contact with the Evergreens, I believe, who apparently...
Give the history of Inca culture, and then that led into something that triggered off.
Because you mentioned that part of their culture and their history involves as the current sightings report, UFO connection, and then that
The Inca
connects
people.
us with the subgenius via your connection and July 5th exit.
No, I don't know how the Inca gets this staying, but the
It was a series of tangents.
yeah.
Well, the initial thought was I said all Americans are televisions.
Precisely.
That's another way of saying they're machines.
The question is, though...
Well, I'm saying,
Will us all be...
well, we were talking about machines.
Which machines we
And then I said specifically we're probably closer to being televisions.
Right.
Well, that is the final machine, the television, because it's Menippean tactility. It is the extension of Menippean tactility, and
I'm looking at you.
that's the
Incorporates
and it
all machine technology
all-
previously.
and it's interactive like speech. So it's come back to language, verbal language made conscious of itself. So that is the accuracy of saying that television is the end of creation. I mean, that's why creativity is bunk, bogart, bafu after television becomes an environment, which is about 53. About 53 is when a TV becomes an environment.
The difference between speech and TV, though, is that,
Oh yeah.
that whatever motivates TV is not the same thing that motivates speech.
Right. No, definitely television is a new form of speech.
But
Yeah.
it's not motivated the same way that speech is motivated.
Right.
In the Lynch movies,
well, and
No, it's motivated via advertising. That's what we know it as.
What is-
Only now that we have cable TV, in some way is there a semblance of it being a little bit less so advertisement vehicle.
oh, it's just people advertising
But
themselves.
now we're about
It's just
have-
machines advertising
Yeah,
themselves.
but now
People that have seen television advertising themselves.
so is my use of speech is me desirous of advertising my desires or myself?
No.
Sometimes.
Only when you're
Sometimes.
only when using a telephone or electric media.
Yeah,
is that the
sometimes.
case.
What's your original thought here? The distinction.
What I'm saying is, for speech there is a motivation in the person speaking, but for the television speaking there's no. It doesn't matter what it says.
That's right, because it's not speech, it's the
It's not
form.
really
It's the
speech.
language of tactility. You know, it is the medium itself, the pulsating dots. That's the language.
the mosaic.
Yeah, the mosaic mesh. That's what TV is, not the content, which is verbal irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. They don't care what the content is.
Yeah.
Whatever the people want, give them whatever they want.
It's
That's
an
the
addictive
that's that
medium.
big joke, Madison Avenue joke. Give them what they want.
Yeah, just like with speech, you don't have ear lids.
It's not a joke.
With television, you don't have tactile lids. You know, we have eyelids, but we don't have ear lids.
It's a virtual reality,
Yeah,
not an actual one-on-one reality.
it's real. It's very powerful. And second nature kills first nature. So
It's all words, commenting on these situations. And
Yeah.
where do the words come from? I mean, when you say virtual reality, it's reality. We put a phrase, there's a phrase, virtual reality.
Yeah, which is a misnomer. They should just say it's
It's
reality.
just misleading. That is
Yeah, misleading.
reality.
Division.
Yeah, that's
Back
right.
in the 70s when Saturday Night Live was like so hot. I mean, I know this is content
Yeah.
and stuff, but
No, but content
I-
ruled. Content was the ground. They
But-
merged.
And I didn't watch television, didn't have a television, didn't have time for television, wasn't interested in television. All my friends were so funny. And I
Because
didn't
they were
know.
all miming
They were all
Saturday Night-
miming Saturday Night Live. I thought they were hysterical.
Yeah, you didn't know they were TV screens.
When I
They were
finally found that
machines.
out, I was just so disgusted. I thought,
You were realizing everything disappeared. That's what you're relevant.
Yeah.
Now let me tell you an important thing about.
Everything disappeared.
He did not see Fire Walk with Me. It opens with the busting of the TV screen. Mediacology. You haven't seen it. Remember,
Haven't seen it.
it's the screen, and then someone kicks it, and then that's an actual rape scene that begins the movie that gets referred to later. It's the murder of the woman a year before Laura Palmer. Okay, what did you say?
Well, I wanted to interject something.
No, you pointed over and said
Yeah,
something.
okay. Well, yeah, you said everything disappeared in relationship.
For her personally. That's where the human scale would disappear, when she realized, my God, I'm entertained by people who are
Who are even, they're just mocking, they're just
imitating.
Yeah.
television.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
She didn't find this out till years later.
I know.
Well, a long time later.
So it ruined the experience for you when you found out what they were doing.
well,
Yeah.
it's
You
sort
had
of
the
like,
experience that everyone
You felt
is
cheated.
like a sleeping automaton going through the motion.
That goes back to when Randy and I, when I was commenting on what Randy was saying, is that was reality anyway. Those people were making you laugh. You were
Yeah.
entertained.
Yeah, it's her own
So in a
anthropomorphic
sense,
bias.
in a sense, this bias came in.
Yeah, her bias came out to her.
Yeah, oh, I'm being cheated. These people
Yeah.
were doing routines from television.
Because she was giving
So,
emotion out to people.
The reality is, you were having a reality.
That's right.
And then you thought you were having a virtual reality when you found out they were
well, I didn't so much
they were
mind that
channeling television routines.
I didn't mind that I had that they were doing that. You know what I mean? But it was like, I think they sort of lost touch. It's like you do this thing. Yet I don't think he knows whether that's off of the Saturday Night Live or not, because he started doing it with my friend Ed, who used to, and he's very talented and gifted and funny, and you know, if you get him away from that. But it always keeps coming back in, and these references, like all this stuff is so referential.
Wait, Terry does routines?
Well, I mean, he'll talk in this dialect of this, what is it?
Oh, the Hindu dialect, you know, in my country.
Oh, it's a very beautiful place.
Thank you very much.
Very beautiful place.
Just because,
The tablecloth I bought in Little India. Artesia.
just because there is a universal mind does
Yes.
not mean that this universal mind is insane.
Play Jasmine.
It's not insane.
It's not insane, actually.
Okay, let's not stop these boring imitations.
boring.
Imitation is so boring.
I always get irritated.
Yeah,
See?
yeah, we don't need that.
No,
Yeah.
but it's like you heard that kind of stuff all the time.
Certainly an interesting
You know
effect,
where
though,
it
isn't
came
it?
from.
Yeah. Well, he.
Isn't that an interesting effect?
Yeah, because
Interesting.
you're identifying the
Oh, on her.
Yeah.
What happened? Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
a very,
that's a very
very good.
interesting effect.
That's the crystal. Because virtual reality, the phrase is an example of hendites. They could just say reality, but they use two to mean one. They use redundant, excessive. That's excremental Baroque spiral, and we always keep adding on to keep it going. You know, maybe we say, well, the Wired magazine is the magazine of virtual reality.
Right.
They had to come up with a term. The word makes the market, and it's
Yeah.
an extraneous, superfluous reality, but it pushes things along, and that's why second nature. That's an example of redundant second nature keeps us going, keeps
Exactly.
the machines going.
Because they're the same situations
Yeah.
all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the words that make them pretty groovy. You know, you have war, and then you have police action, and then after Bob, you have Desert Storm.
Yeah.
We saw the greatest. We had to meet
Look think of that Desert Storm. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's
You know, it's not war
it's
anymore.
oxymoron. You can't have a storm in
Desert
the desert.
Storm, that was like the Thin Lizzy tour in
It's like- it's-
'75, wasn't it?
It's virtual
It's
reality.
Blue Oyster Cult touring, Desert Storm.
Yeah, Dick Manitoba.
Sure, handsome.
But they were the stormtroopers that created the virtual storm.
Who
Yeah.
are these people?
Bomb, carpet bomb.
Who people? Which people?
George Bush and the Air Force.
Well, the machines did it.
Storm was the storm of the cloud of the dark skies of the shadows of the planes going over to carpet bomb.
Which was the content of a Twin Peaks episode the week before the war started. Yeah, it's on.
Which
yeah,
shows Terry
the
was
manager,
right.
The manager comes in.
Give the people what they want.
They want a war.
No, give,
Apparently, Desert Storm was very popular. I mean,
yeah.
everybody liked
Give
it.
the machines what they want, not the people, the machines.
Well, yeah, and all those
because
new-
we want to specify.
yeah, and all those words for the categories, the
Yeah.
same situation.
In other words, the
People are machines.
words keep it going.
Because
The people are just machines anymore.
Right, and words are machines. That's why rap becomes the torturous anti-environment to that. The entertainment, it mimes the reality because it's so imploded. Nothing's being done anymore. All it is talk. Talk runs the world now,
they have-
in all levels of society.
well, it's economic too, of course.
No,
Rap is
that's
cheap,
that's what
is
talk
cheap to
is.
produce. It's
Money,
cheap to produce.
talk is more money than money is.
We have become.
Money doesn't talk; it talks.
When they have the correction the next couple of weeks, talk will get us out of the economic effects. They just say, "Oh, well, we're going on, no problem." And if Clinton couldn't say something, you got apocalypse, man. If he didn't continue talking, that's when it's fucking fucked up. That's why the president is allowed to lie just to keep phatic communion going. That's all we have to do.
Right.
We live in a verbal universe now,
Are you-
which obsolesces poetry, actors, and everybody. The old world reality of humanities, of humanists.
And this great word, the information highway.
Yeah,
That's just another term for newspeak.
Oh, is that lost? Now that's lost with a
that's a
U-turn.
lost highway.
Is the information highway the lost highway?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the super
Because
lost
there's no
highway.
information, there's no informing.
That's where I
going
want to
on.
be. I want to be super lost.
No informing going on.
So that was Chet Baker's mistake in why he died. He didn't get super lost. He
Yeah.
just got lost.
So
Yeah.
Bob, this has got to be the thing that pisses LaRouche off, because LaRouche
Yeah.
believes in.
He believes in a canon.
He believes
in
in
that
economic
it
theory.
exists in a cave as truth somewhere on a stone buried that's got ritual that you can get to it if you do the right ritual.
Yeah, but when you,
LaRouche does.
but when you need talk, when you need things to talk,
He's just saying
Terry. But when you need things to talk about,
Yeah.
when you need to endlessly things to talk about, you keep retrieving everything. So LaRouche is great. He's come up with some content that we can talk about.
That's what we're
All come down to second nature, baby.
Yes,
all we're doing.
it's our second nature.
It's our second nature.
Not our, yeah, it's our second nature. It's second nature.
You know that old blues song, If I'd Listened to My First Mind?
TV, right?
Yeah.
You know the old blues song, If I'd Listened to My First Mind, which everybody has used from Ann Slipscomb to Leadbelly, Howlin' Wolf? It's going to be, if I had listened to my second nature, I wouldn't have wound up here on the killing floor. You know? And that's why it's a happy day.
That's right. Yeah, that.
Get happy.
Oh, happy.
That's why I was so morose earlier. It's very hard to
And that
deal with
came out in
happiness.
'67. That album.
I'm being liberated. It's very hard to deal with.
Yeah.
I have vestiges of darkness that I have to hold on to for security reasons.
The Liberation Army.
National security.
Yeah.
holding on to something.
Oh, I have to hold on to vestiges of darkness. I have to. A little ones, little filaments, a little raiment of darkness. That's why the earlier show was so tense and conflicted, because of this great happiness that Bob and I are here to speak about. This overwhelming mirrors on the way.
Yeah.
I have seen the needle.
Yes.
I have seen the needle. The hell with the space needle. This is bigger.
Yeah. This is.
It takes up more skyway.
You're afraid of this happening.
Oh, I'm not afraid. I'm indulging my fear. To be afraid is to not
because it's
indulge your
obsolete.
fear.
You can be afraid.
I welcome it.
Yeah, it's
I want to
obsolete
wash
now.
you in my darkness about this. So you too can see the happiness that's coming.
Yeah,
It's coming too, isn't it?
it's here.
You know what Pynchon said? Nothing is coming, nothing is already here. Why is Pynchon a terrible writer?
Does this mean that
Because he writes
In
it. You love
English.
that. That's my greatest line to you, wasn't it?
nothing makes you happy?
There are many other. Nothing makes me happier.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is well, here's what let's get back to being laid, because what do you see on all the video screens in all the Lynch movies? Animal acts.
Yeah.
It's Patricia Arquette being butt fucked, may I say that, in Lost Highway. Harry Dean Stanton sitting in his hotel room. What is he watching? Watching two dogs tear this carrion apart.
Yeah.
Wild dogs, right? And he's going, woof, woof, woof. That's the TV.
Yeah.
And in the
They think it's the animal. They think it's nature. And they're right. But they haven't dealt with being right. I'm dealing with it.
I second that.
I give in to
second
darkness. I give into it.
Technology.
I want Manson out of jail so he can kill Spielberg. Who's with me?
Yeah.
it is busted.
He got out at the wrong time. He got out in '67. If only he'd gotten out in '97.
Yeah.
Now we have people to kill. If
God
only he'd
created,
gotten out.
God created nature.
He got out
and-
too
and
early.
language said, I second that.
Man, if he was knocking off Danny DeVito, there wouldn't be people saying, I'm locking my doors tonight. Everyone would be saying, Jesus, I can sleep easy now. Wow, I can sleep a lot better knowing Chuck's out there.
Well, Zappa,
So give in. Give in and
Zappa failed to knock him
celebrate.
off. He came up to Zappa's house and asked him to record him. Zappa didn't, so we
Yeah.
can put the blame on Frank.
Zappa went through that with Dylan, too. Remember when Dylan came by to record?
December
Frank was
22nd,
afraid.
1982.
He was afraid.
Who was afraid?
Frank was afraid.
No.
He asked, do you have Jesus in the songs?
Yeah, the dog.
Here's Frank. I
The
grew up on
dog
R&B.
objected. Yeah.
I grew up in R&B. R&B, the Lord, Jesus. My woman and Jesus. What else is there in R&B? And here's Frank. Oh, I hope Dylan doesn't do Jesus songs around me.
No, the machine ruled. George the dog.
They're all obsolete. That's why I'm
You're not-
disgusted sitting here.
You're not
with
listening.
Bob lowering himself talking about David Lynch.
Okay.
Go on the lower.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that statement.
Bob, go on the lower things. Bob Dylan.
Yeah, let's go lower. Let's go to Bob Dylan. Frank, his dog objected to Dylan. That was the problem. Do you know that? The dog was fucking barking a head off. And
Dog was a machine. Who trained
yeah,
the dog?
dog was the
Who
Fido.
trained the dog? Probably the kids.
It was
Frank was in the studio. He didn't know. Frank never hung out with the dog. The one time he talks about his goddamn dog.
That's right.
It's to prove a point.
Well, Dylan.
The dog was a machine.
Now we get into Dylan. How come
I haven't seen the dog. How do you know the dog wasn't a machine?
Dylan hoiked up the ground.
The dog might have killed Jack Nance.
Why did Dylan have to get his help to record songs? I mean,
Why do you have to do what?
Why did
what's
he
wrong
have to
with Dylan?
resort to
Doesn't he have
Jesus?
his own recording equipment?
Dylan's adventurous. And he doesn't have recording equipment.
No, he
He doesn't believe in technology.
He knew that he better check out Bob's reality. That's what he did. He says, Bob favors Frank over me. I've got to go over and see what's going on. And
Wait,
he knew
Dylan favored Frank over himself. He wrote liner notes
That's
about
right.
Frank and
Yeah,
not
he
himself.
is Frank. He's
John
Frank.
Wesley Harding.
Yes, but he said it and he thought that would free him. But then he realized, wait a minute,
He tried it all.
I've got to go actually do anthropomorphic physical. And it happened after 77, the anthropomorphic physical stage. In December 22nd, 82, he goes over to Frank. He had to interact with Frank personally to get to Bob, to get to me.
Dylan's from a small town in Minnesota. In the liner notes to Biograph, he said, I want to go to New York to become cosmopolitan. 1959. I want to go to become cosmopolitan. That means hitchhiking out there to become cosmopolitan. That's why he's an artist. He wanted to try it all. And we're talking about Lynch, who would never hitchhike, A. Frank, you know,
Never hitchhike.
would never hitchhike, or would never pick anybody up.
He wouldn't even go.
He wouldn't even pick up a member of his band.
He
to go to a
wouldn't
gig.
leave.
You never left the house.
He never
You
left
know?
the house.
Let me show you this. I think this is a perfect image of Bob and Kind. Body.
Wait, show that to the camera, Scott,
Okay.
if you can do that.
Well, okay, but let me.
Are you in?
let me-
Come
let
in-
me
come in
let me-
between.
Let me get.
No, let him
let me get an interpretation here. Okay, the body, Connie, the organic physical body.
Yeah.
Now look here. You've got a camera which is interpreting the environment into the central nervous system, infiltrating it with Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the machine. That's ISIS.
This is Bob and Connie.
ISIS, yeah, fucking up with Rai.
So, I'm putting forth that Connie
Where's the
is
camera?
organic biology here.
Yeah.
The camera above his head there?
No,
It's inside the
No,
skull.
Right
inside.
Kind of
inside
the
where
sinus.
I would be. There's
They
a-
embedded a
Yeah,
TV
embedded as a
camera.
TV
What year is that
camera.
book? Frank probably got the whole brain snout
And it's
from
got a
this.
wire going directly.
This is the origin of the brain snout, Jerry. See, Bob thinks I'm getting off the subject.
No, I didn't say a word. I'm just disgusted with the object.
Probably this was the only book in
He's
Lancaster.
been sitting out here in the yard since
Yeah.
Did you find this out near
Since I
Studio
met Jerry.
Z?
Jesus was here.
What'd you say?
Since
Sam?
Jesus left Chicago. 1943. Oh, fifth printing, 1962.
And
Okay.
it pretty much
Yeah.
shows what's happening to the
He probably, this was lying around Studio Z. Okay, let's talk about Bob and all that then.
Dylan.
You want to?
Yeah, the important thing
Because
is,
Lynch is still dealing with him. They all are.
well,
I didn't know it was that important.
Who?
Bob.
Dylan.
well,
He might be the sixth Bob.
there's the only reason he's important if you take D-Y-L-N. D-Y-L-A-N. The Y-L can become E-L, which is Eloi, which is one of the 5 forces on the top of the chart. So Y-L can become Eloi. You know what I mean? E. Present Y as E. Eloi. Then you drop the L and you get E. You get Bob Dean. Okay, so that's why we gotta fucking deal with this
So
asshole.
we got to deal with it then, obviously. Obviously, we got to deal with it then. We got to talk about that then.
Is that Sinatra?
Zanakani. Yeah, it's not
See,
golf.
Terry forgot why he's important, because he's evolved,
Yeah.
as he predicted.
Yeah. So where do we go? Well, I'll tell you what Dylan's doing. Is that we'll go back to what he said in the Rolling Stone interview on Judy Garland.
The Jan Wenner interview from '69,
Judy
where
Garland's
Jan Wenner
funeral.
talks about
Yeah.
Judy Garland's
Outside. They're
funeral in
looking
the
at the hotel.
italicized intro.
Yeah. And Dylan says in it, I wasn't aware as I should have been.
Dylan says, aware of what?
He says, in my career, I wasn't as aware of what I was doing as I should have been. He discounts everything before his accident. He says, I wasn't as aware as I should have been. Now, you go up to 1985, we're in Spin magazine. He says, if you want to understand the 60s, you got to read Marsh McLuhan and Norman Mailer. That's what he says in 1985 in Spin magazine. Now, Marsh McLuhan in 67, when Dylan is laid up doing the basement tapes, puts out the little book, Meet Him As Massage, and he makes fun of Dylan. He has a picture of Dylan, and he says, he takes the line from Battle of the Thin Man, hey, Mr. Jones, you don't know what you're doing, whatever that line is. What is it?
Yeah, something is happening.
Yeah, something happening, you don't know
Right,
what it
and
is.
it's the full page of
Yeah.
blackness, which is the center
Right.
of Dylan's Jewish fro.
Right.
Right?
So McLuhan is saying it back to Dylan, as Dylan, as an agent of youth culture, said it to the old people.
Yeah, that's the centerpiece in the book.
Right.
That's the only fold-out in the book.
And so Dylan's lying home, and he sees this fucking guy is making fun of me.
Yeah, 'cause he's
No, I don't think so. I think what McLuhan
Hey,
was
we're not
doing-
going to
I
hear
don't
your
think
opinion
so.
for a minute. No,
I don't think so.
No, let me say my
No,
piece.
this is world opinion. This is the machines.
So anyways,
Machines and the people agree on this.
so from 67 to 69, in that 2-year period where we don't know, we don't have any record, or you don't have any record of what Bob Dean and Bob Dobbs are doing in Nova Scotia, right? In that 2-year period, Dylan is up and hiding in big pink Woodstock, and he's looking and assessing his career in light of the fact that he was being verbal. And then he says, I didn't know that Finnegan's Wake opts less verbality. McLuhan's the expert at Finnegan's Wake. McLuhan is telling me something I didn't know. Zappa is doing something that I can't do. Therefore, I'll write a thing saying the key is Frank. I'll say, fuck my career as a poet in music, and I'll go Manipian, and I'll pretend I'm a country guy temporarily. So that's why in 1985, he admits this by saying, go back and read McLuhan. If you want to know what's going on in the 60s, you read McLuhan, which is, you read a critique of me. All right? So now Dylan, what's he do? He starts coming back in 74, doing his tours, July 94, July 74.
I told him this is coming up.
Yeah.
I told him this part.
I bet you, I think you're wrong, because what I'm going to say is, what Dylan starts to do is he starts playing his songs and doing them differently, singing them different rhythms, different tempos, different atmospheres. And everybody says, boy, isn't this creative? They should have said, this is like Frank, doing a different stuff and this stuff every night. But they don't say that because they're not into Frank. They just say...
Dylan invented the move from difference. He invented the move of change over. Acoustic to electric. Dylan did the transformation in public from acoustic to electric
First nature to second
instrumentation.
nature. First nature to second nature.
First of all, he did that.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. I got no problem with that. So anyways, the thing is, he's now doing this manipulation of his lyrics, and he's chewing them differently. And it looks like the myth is that he's bored, and so he has to do his songs differently since he has to do them on tour. And why not be creative?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he did them differently, album to album.
Right.
He established that. That was his. That's the pattern until now.
Right. So then, but he's doing verbality because after '67, the words rule. The words rule, so he's doing it verbally in his songs by altering them at different tempos. Okay.
But he already satirized McLuhan from his first album.
Yes.
He had a whole stock of 40 songs. He did all other people's songs.
He actually uses the word involvement in the liner notes.
And he said, "I'm a country artist" on that album.
So
you're saying he was playing at being a country artist after the motorcycle
I'm on
crash.
the way to saying what you might think I'm saying. So he says, so as he starts manipulating, everybody says, yeah, as an artist he has a right to do this, to manipulate and change it and make it interesting for himself.
They had said that already.
But when he comes out in 1985 for the celebration, the 30th anniversary or whatever it was that happened, where he had everybody around him and they did a tribute.
93.
Dylan, was it 93?
93.
So when he comes out, he starts singing a song, and they've been doing these other guys doing Dylan songs, right?
Right.
So he comes out and he gets on the mic and he goes, with like some kind of perverted Elmer Fudd Donald Duck voice, "They're just blowing in the wind, they're blowing in the wind," whatever the lyrics are, with a ridiculous Terrence McKenna UFO elfish meme voice. When he did that, we realized
it was more Peter Lorre, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah. When he realized it, well, when he did that, we realized that Dylan had
Who's we?
The Bobs.
The five Bobs.
The five Bobs. Okay. We realized you fell into that one. Good.
Rumpelstiltskin wasn't at that show.
See, that's a nice
one of them was missing.
Warm laugh. Tom got nailed on that one. He asked. He meant that. He goes, "Who's we?" And it was obvious the answer, right?
But Rumpelstiltskin was not at that show.
That's right. That's right. I didn't
It
say
wasn't
which,
all of
I
them.
didn't say which
Okay.
five Bobs. Remember, it's a decade dance.
I'm
There
just
could
trying to
be 10
localize.
Bobs. There could be 10 fucking Bobs.
That
So,
was a retrieval of the second nature. It's an acapella doo-wop five Bob.
if you say so. If you say
No,
so.
he had a guitar.
If you say so. But anyway, to continue, so we realized that Dylan was not doing it for a change. he was trying to kill his career. He was trying to stop by making his music and songs as stupid as possible.
He had done this so many times before.
Well, yeah, it's since 60,
I mean, my God.
69, right.
Jesus. He told the folk protest liberal movement to fuck off.
No,
He said, I want to dress like the Beatles and wear high boots.
No, that's where you missed the point. He
Oh,
didn't,
no,
He didn't
Bob.
even want to comment
Bob,
on...
you were so off on all this.
Well, wait, let me finish.
Who's
then.
feeding you this information?
Don't worry about
This
it.
must be more Mr. Eddie stuff.
So anyway, so he's carrying on, and so Dylan has been a comedian all these years with the most...
Oh, I thought he found out in 74 and then again in 93.
No, he found out in 67.
The Bobs found out in 93.
We found out.
You guys were way behind.
Remember,
I knew from the first album.
I fucking caused the accident in 69, in July 29,
But that didn't stop him, so it doesn't even matter.
So Dylan has been a manipulant, and all the literati and all the people who put value in cultural content think that Dylan is wrestling with issues like death, life, youth, being famous, and all this stuff, when he's actually desperately trying to, as desperately announced in Newsweek.
He's desperately trying.
Yeah. Have you read the Newsweek interview with him?
Yeah.
Okay. He says in it, "I would quit at the drop of a hat." And the interviewer says, "Well, what would you do?" He says, "What wouldn't I do?" And so everybody says, you gotta hold it. Everybody
Jesus.
says, "Well, why doesn't he quit?" Now Dylan's trying to tell you that he can't quit, even though he wants to quit. And as long as he's forced to keep doing this, he's going to mangle artistic reality as much as possible and alienate as many people as possible.
Well, who's forcing?
Me.
Oh, okay.
Because he's trying to do media ecology. He realized that cultural...
Trying
to do media ecology. And so most people, older people, they see Dylan on TV on a Grammy Award doing a song. They say he was awful. He was sick. Now, they missed the point that Dylan's purposely trying to do that, but that he also is trying to get them not to be disgusted, but to laugh. In other words, he is determined that he will do a run-on joke, an ongoing joke, that looks like it's not a joke as long as possible. So it's a version of Finnegan's Wake. He wrote a book that you can't understand, and you've got to use ESP to figure out how to read the Wake. You've got to make that ESP leap to figure out that he is trying to outdo Pat Paulson as much as possible with it. So he's on Newsweek glowering like a psychopath at the camera, at the machines, but it doesn't mean that he's pissed off. And it's not that he's doing... So all the content of this new album, Time Out of Mind, has nothing to... Some of it on Bob Fast. Not every word, but I've heard a lot of it. I heard Highlands and a lot of them. So, but he is trying desperately to communicate something that is not said in one sentence on the new movie, the new album, Time Out of Mind. None of that is what he's about. And the best review of that, intuiting that, is by Ron Rosenbaum in the New York Observer.
In Highlands, he talks about passing the park, and he would be anybody in the park if he could. He addresses it directly.
That's not what he means.
He's attempting to create with his career a body of work equal to Finnegan's Wake.
Yes,
that says to.
And he wished he didn't had to. He wished
his audience to stop.
Yeah, that's right. To stop. Says stop. I don't want to do this anymore. But as long as you guys pretend.
Keep buying this crap, I have to keep making this crap.
Yeah, and I'll make it crappier and crappier. I'll even make a nice album to fool you.
Right.
Yeah.
See, but I always thought he was so crappy in the beginning.
He was crappy.
At the time he was good. And
that was all deliberate.
Those are people who liked him. Those are people who liked him.
The Bobs found out.
They don't understand anything.
They thought he was a poet laureate of America.
Yeah.
You think that's part of the born again syndrome? Or
yeah, that was a joke.
You don't think he really believes he's born again?
No.
Whoa.
He did that to turn everybody off.
No, even better. Hold on. I guess we're not dialoguing today.
No, you're not supposed to be
You think he was born again?
You're supposed to be actually...
Feed forward, not feed back.
Bob's wrong about everything.
The Noir tension of deconstructing the Noir.
That's what I meant.
The first thing Dylan did before music, the first thing he did was before the music. Before he was on record, what did he do? He established the changeling character. There's tapes of Dylan at Riverside Church in 1961 singing "He's a Young Lad, but He's Steady Going" in a beautiful, soaring kind of Dion and the Belmonts tenor.
That's what he's against, the changeling character.
And he did the other voice, too.
So in other words, you say he could sing?
He thought, I want to tour the rest of my life. I got to find a voice that I can do with the least amount of effort on the voice. So I'll bring it down to a voice I can physically do. See, the Bobs found out in '93 that Dylan's You found out in 93?
No, well,
He was the ultimate changeling
we
before
found out
McLuhan.
in 65.
First of all, Dylan was famous before McLuhan was. Dylan's the only reason McLuhan surfaced. There
Who
was
was
no
who was
there was no
famous first? Who did you
pattern.
just say was
oh,
famous?
Dylan was so much more famous before McLuhan.
Yeah.
Obviously. You didn't see Ginsberg saying McLuhan put poetry in America. Did you?
Well, that was the conspiracy.
Did you?
That was the conspiracy
On whose part?
against McLuhan. Everything from Zappa and McLuhan, LaRouche is a conspiracy against McLuhan.
Everything from Zappa to...
Every holy office is a conspiracy against McLuhan.
Thank God. So anyway, Dylan was the ultimate changeling before he even picked up the guitar. He played rock and roll piano for Bobby V. He was on a single with Bobby V, playing piano. All right, he played rock and roll in Hibbing, Minnesota. The one thing he did was establish the character. He had a series of aims of doing everything in America, from Jesus to Dada to everything, and he did it. And he's still doing it. And the Bobs didn't know until 93.
The Bobs knew in 65.
Dylan said in 65...
Why do you say 93?
Well, you said that concert showed you
Dylan
that
doesn't even exist
the
in
Bobs realized, you said earlier.
I said
on
we
tape.
realized.
And then we established that it was some of the Bobs.
Yeah, but you don't know what the definition of some of the Bobs are. You didn't pursue
I'm the one
that
that came up with that
You-
phrase.
You got fooled by the
I
word
do know what it
Bob.
means to me.
What about the idea that
I
everybody...
do know what it means to me.
No, it's everybody.
And that's all that's important, the solipsism, baby. The new joy is solipsism.
Yes.
You're all free to be dark and happy in your own way.
Yes.
Okay, so the...
Until you meet me.
So the thing is, Dylan told Robert Shelton in 65, after doing Don't Look Back, how did he describe Like a Rolling Stone, writing it? When he was writing at the end of the English tour. You can see him in Don't Look Back playing the piano chords to it. Right?
I've seen that movie.
While the black journalist is sitting there watching it,
Yeah.
the guy from the London Times. Dylan is playing the chords like Rolling Stone over and over. Dylan said, I quit. I completely quit my career. So there again, he's playing with the time out of mind, even before the album comes out. Quitting to him was like a day. He quit in one day and wrote Like a Rolling Stone. That's to describe it. I quit, I retired.
I mean, then he changed back on his career the next day.
Oh, it's all the same. He's just doing all the same wonderful stuff.
Okay, now.
But Bob, you haven't explained.
No, I'm going to answer Tom. But everything that Tom said is completely wrong, because he's describing the change thing, and this very process is what Dylan is against. That he's forced to keep going and changing and being a
But
problem.
you haven't explained why it is that he's forced. Is there
Yeah, you just said Bob is behind his career.
Right.
Or he thinks that.
Nancy brought that. So you're forcing him to be desperate about
It's
this?
a free country. If he wants to quit, he can quit.
Yeah, and why doesn't he quit? Why doesn't he quit is the question.
Well, I don't know. Why?
Yeah.
He
Because
said in LA Times magazine, 88.
What did he say? I don't follow Dylan. I think he's obsolete. What did he say?
I like touring.
Is that oh, really? Well, he just likes to do it. Like with the Grateful Dead.
Who?
Grateful Dead.
Oh, in fact, the new album is a satire on the dead also. There's the two best Grateful Dead songs ever recorded are on the new album.
Grateful Dead?
Huh?
He didn't do a tour with the Grateful Dead.
Oh, sure.
yeah, it was Garcia that.
A mini tour. He did like 5 dates in 87, 5 dates in
So he
93.
just likes the, the kind of like.
No, let me answer your questions.
He satirizes all of them. Petty, all of
No,
them.
I have to talk now. I'll answer. In '87, he said that for many years he'd been singing his words. He said this in Newsweek, that he's been singing the words of the song and they didn't mean anything to him, and it was just empty.
But he's said that so many times before.
So then in '87 he met Garcia and he saw Garcia doing his songs, and he says, "How come Garcia can do it with meaning and I can't?" So
That's
he
not
asked,
what he said in Newsweek.
Yeah, and so he went to Garcia.
No, he said
No, you can't
Garcia
interrupt
got
me.
him
I
up.
have to say my bit.
He got him enjoying performing again.
Yeah. So he goes there.
There wasn't anything about songs
and
as
Gar-
former content.
You can interpret
Yeah.
There were a lot of naked girls at dead shows and a lot more drugs, right?
Yeah. So then Garcia got Dylan.
It
Gave
was a fun tour.
That's what touring's all about.
So Dylan is given an argument from Garcia why he could sing the songs, and it didn't mean anything to him. But then in October '87, he's in Germany or someplace, and he's singing a song, and all the audience is looking at the backup singers. He noticed they never look at him because they kind of instinctively knew that he didn't mean what he was singing. There was no charisma.
He said because they were good-looking girls.
Oh, well, in my interpretation.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Let me finish. So then he had the girls purposely there to distract everybody because he knew he wasn't communicating. And then all of a sudden, he doesn't say what happened to him. Suddenly he had an explosion and the words meant something to him. And so he continues singing. He noticed that the audience starts looking at him again. So he knew he had hit the mother lode again, and it was meaningful. So he kept touring after that. Now, the reason he can't stop The reason he maintains kinetic space, a last gasp of the American archetype, is that, as Ron Rosenbaum said, that Time Out of Mind is his
He's a pink.
Yeah, is his farewell album. This album is his last album.
The one that just came out.
Just came out. It's all over. Dylan's finished.
Contractual obligations
Right.
fulfilled.
Yeah, he's done it.
There's got to be some of that in there.
Right. And
Ron Rosenbaum is the worst pink that ever lived. You ever read his Salinger article?
Okay.
Yeah. And so
He's CIA. Yeah.
so that
He is.
That's okay to be
Hold that
CIA.
pen.
He said he is.
Hold that tangent.
Hold that tangent.
Hold that tangent.
We're talking about
Hold
Ron.
that
Wait a
tangent.
minute.
Hold that
No, you can't talk. You
We're
have to-
talking about Ron Rosenbaum.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know,
yeah.
but-
See, it's wonderful he's a CIA guy. We need more of them. So the thing is,
So you see, it's tangent reality to you because you're that virtual guy.
no, it's only tangent while I have the chance to speak. So he is finished, and Ron Rosenbaum writes a review saying this is Dylan's farewell album, and he's right.
Ah, that's so nice.
What?
He intuited that.
Yeah, he writes the best review.
Oh, just a simple writer's gaffe or trick is so meaningful.
So he writes this great review that totally.
Boy, Ron Rosenbaum summed it all up for himself. Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So Tom,
Boy, I'm impressed.
So Tom,
Jesus.
so Dylan, so Ron writes his review
Wow.
saying that the album is not about his fears about dying and all these anthropomorphic things. He says that Dylan is trying to implement a kind, what we'd call media ecology. He's trying to stop. He's trying to end it. Finally, it's all over. It's his farewell album. That's the point. And it comes out in '97 when this lockdown Bob Rule phase reaches the beginning point.
When did this album come out? Last week? Or
Yeah, a couple months ago. Yeah, within the last month. So this is his last album. He did perfect time. He did it in '97 when Bob takes over. I'm going to surface now. And he's finished. So the reason he had to keep going was he had to wait till we got to '97.
And he's sitting back there going,
Yeah. And he had tension about this because it almost killed him in May. In May,
oh, what happened to Nate? Did he have a heart attack or something?
he got an infection in his heart.
Oh, I remember that. Now I remember that, yeah.
Now here's the interesting thing. I had not looked into Dylan
That's true, I remember.
for many
I
years.
wondered about that.
I had not looked in. It was in the end of April, 1st of May.
He was on tour when that happened.
So I went to Barnes and Noble and I found a new book out, which is a chronology every day of Dylan's life. Every day. Some groupie does this. So I'm going through it and I'm thinking, I like Ronald LeClaire. I haven't seen it, but I want to see what he says about it. So I see what he says. Then I walk out and the next day I'm coming back through over to the Barnes Noble and I go to the flea market and there's a guy with Ronaldo and Claire, a bootleg. So I buy it. So I go home and watch it. I see what it's about. I go back and check his statements on it. You know what I mean? I have this chronology. It's like an archive. Then I'm looking at all his life, picking up all the different points. So I'm x-raying Dylan. I am putting a focus on him that hasn't been done in years by me.
Right.
Then and that was Saturday, Sunday. On Monday, I get up. I go out in the paper, and Dylan has collapsed.
Oh, incredible.
I fucking stopped him. Yeah.
Has he thanked you yet?
No. The meeting between me and him. I bet you when we get together, we'll figure out who the hell Bob Dean is. You know what I mean?
Could happen.
Yeah, it could happen because since he has that in him. So the thing is that he stopped. I mean, I x-rayed him. He stopped. It's almost like he couldn't stop. He had to give himself a disease to do it. And then the album was already written, so what he went through when he was sick had nothing to do with the album. Right. Then the album comes out. Everybody says, hey, Dylan's back. Dylan lives and he's alive and it's great and we're proud to have created this American icon. But it's the end.
But that was just in the can.
Yeah.
You threw out this thing about all these holy
Should I
orders.
respond?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait a
I'm
minute. No,
interrupting.
ladies first.
About all these holy orders.
I'm a black woman.
Against McLuhan.
Yeah, the conspiracy.
Right. Sometime you can talk about that. You don't have
No,
to
I'll just say that's American culture against British intelligence. McLuhan was working for British intelligence, and every American did their damnedest to stop that. And that LaRouche is the best explainer of the roots of that. McLuhan was working for British intelligence. You have Ginsburg and anybody he mentioned, all Americans doing their damnedest to keep McLuhan up. They still won't do it. If I am around in New York and I meet Ginsburg or any of these people, I bring up McLuhan, they go fucking nuts. They will not deal with it. But I know they will, so I tease them with it. But they can't do that anymore. They're dead. Burroughs.
What
I mean,
sense was McLuhan working for British intelligence?
well, he went to Cambridge. He was an Aristotelian against the Platonic American culture.
You mean it was unconscious carrying on that?
He was like me working for the Secret Council 10. I mean, he wasn't for the highest Secret
Why
Council 10.
doesn't LaRouche denounce him the way he denounces
Oh,
all
he
these
denounces
other people?
McLuhan all the time.
No, but he really rants on these other people who have been working for British oligarchs.
Yeah, he denounces McLuhan's controllers. See, McLuhan was like Dylan. He woke up. after he met me in the 50s. And then he saw what he was a victim of. But he had to act out his own biological and media second nature destiny like Dylan did until Rai returned to essence and subsequent events. I mean, there's the lockstep of the march of time that you can't stop. They call it astrology. You know, so you know, you can wake up. It's time out of mind. You get into the vision of eternity. You see what your pattern is, but then you're back in the body, and you have to work your karma out.
But the lockstep of time of astrology, as you put it, is not necessarily synonymous with those. And I heard a new one just Friday night on our bell. The people who claim that they know that there is a destiny to be realized of a prophetic nature that presumes all these very physical, apocalyptic, weird events that they're all telling you that they'd be glad to tell you that they are going to end their. You know what I mean?
Yeah, is that a
They
fact?
aren't synonymous.
What?
The two aren't synonymous.
What are the two again, briefly?
The lockstep of the
Time.
Astrological.
Right,
process
and
versus the prophetic anticipation of the apocalyptic physical.
no, they're not synonymous because they're talking in first nature terms, which they don't know anything about.
Right.
They,
But there's so many of those people.
One has a formula and the other's open-ended.
yeah.
On the subject of astrology, I made an interesting discovery recently, how the alphabet, Marshall talks about how the phonetic alphabet brings in time and space.
Sky God.
With tribal, pre-literate, pre-alphabetic societies, every object creates its own space. The phonetic alphabet invents time and space.
Frames.
And I was looking at the origins in the Book of Formation, which is ancient Hebrew text, and they talk about the origins of those Hebrew letters. There's 22 of them, and they relate them to, there's 3 mothers letters, 7 double letters, and 12 single letters. And they actually relate to 12 single letters relate to the eternity, or the fixed stars, the 12 celestial signs. The 3 mother letters relate to the 3 planets which are invisible to the naked eye, but were known about 5,000 years ago, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus, and act as an intermediary between the 7 double letters, which are the 7 planets which were visible to the ancients, including the sun and the moon. And the movement of these planets are astrological and create the marching of time. So there's this direct link between the alphabet, the planets, time, the function of time.
It's all the eye. And space? What was the last words? And space?
Because the alphabet.
And space, did you say? And space, yeah. It's because it's all an extension of the eye. Astrology was pre-alphabet because you're looking at the sky, an emphasizing sky rather than your immediate tactile jungle environment. And then when you go from the vast cycles of astrology, start focusing, get more abstract, you eventually get to writing and then the alphabet. Now, Tom, you can respond to my situation, whatever you wanted to say.
That was great. What's that book called? The Book of Formations? Do you have one?
It's called the Sephirot Sirah.
It's called the
Sephirot Sirah, the Book of Formation.
Do you have a copy?
Kabbalistic text, I have a copy.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
So back to the
So anyway,
Dylan thing.
Bob's entirely wrong, of course, about Dylan.
So
I don't know why. You're right about everything else except Dylan. I don't know why this. It must be the names. The
Yes,
Dean
the
Dylan.
Dean Dylan thing.
I'll explain.
In your view of Dylan's career, then.
Yeah.
Well, I'll explain. You know, the whole McLuhan thing. You know,
You can throw
Randy,
that
you want
out.
to hear this part?
You're gonna throw
Just
that
this
out.
one part.
Randy, don't.
It relates to film a little.
He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, but well.
So, you know, we hear about the conspiracy against McLuhan, you know, in 77, very key year, in 76, 77,
Rapunzel.
another key
Rapunzel.
year. The, Jesus, you know, talk about Paramount putting out a lot of money. Gulf and Western, Desert Storm. Gulf and Western putting out a lot of money to make sure Annie Hall wins all the Academy Awards, which it did. You know, and who's the most popular vestige of the virtual New Left, hippie, I'm against Nixon situation still alive then in the media? Woody Allen, who was himself an empty machine.
Yeah.
You know, and all his movies of the 80s, of course, are satires on that.
Yeah.
You know, forget Zelig. The other ones are even more satire of that.
Kind of wandering.
Zelig's like a Ron Rosenbaum thing, you know. He's proving that he's a satire. So anyway, I'll wait until Ron explains it to me.
Yeah.
But anyway,
And a traveling Jew like Dylan.
Yeah, so Woody Allen, what's the big thing in Annie Hall? What are the two big cultural references? The put down on Dylan in the Shelley Duvall scene is one of the big cultural references. He has to take just like a woman and bash it. And what's the other thing? McLuhan. So where's the conspiracy against McLuhan? The conspiracy has always been against Dylan since '61. McLuhan has been helped everywhere along the way. You think Nation magazine would let Dylan write about William Burroughs? A guy who knew him? Here's where Tarantula comes from. Burroughs did a performance piece in '64 in the Village, and he had a blank canvas on the wall, and he pulled it back, and there was a giant rubber tarantula. I'm sure Dylan was there high. He said, hey, that's a good name for a book, actually. Dylan was in the front row. So here's a guy McLuhan doesn't know shit about Burroughs, being asked by the Nation, for the college literati, to interpret, when Dylan already knew everything about Burroughs. That's why he came to New York. McLuhan always helped, Dylan never helped.
Right, now the
British intelligence always helped McLuhan infiltrate American culture.
Right,
and what's the most shown scene? I'll just finish this, the thought with this. The most shown scene from Annie Hall is McLuhan coming out.
Yeah.
I've seen that on every TV station owned by corporate America. And it's supposed to be really funny.
And the reason...
it's supposed to be hilarious, I hear.
And reason in '77, I'll answer that. The reason McLuhan gets a better run after '77 is that when the Rockefellers go down and the British intelligence take over.
There's even more of a reason.
Yeah, and so all the objection up to '77 is the Rockefeller gang against British intelligence. But you're right, that once after '77, McLuhan has an opportunity to come back. But it doesn't happen until after the Gulf War, when Wired magazine, sponsored by Prince Charles's Global Business, hoiks up the pink McLuhan for all universal triumphant success.
The new McLuhan.
Yeah.
So you're saying that McLuhan was machine tooled for consumption?
Yeah.
The Annie Hall McLuhan.
That was the beginning.
And when did the process start?
That was the beginning. Now that was the year of the Battle of the Harvest Moon and beater stuff. Now the Rothschilds temporarily beat Rockefeller, but from '77 to '90 there was a battle between the Rothschilds and Rockefellers where they couldn't decide who totally won. But after the Gulf War, the Rothschilds won. Okay? And so that was in '91. So by '93, the Rothschilds, the global Queen's Lady Di empire, is able to control the media of America, and they bring out Wired and really rub McLuhan in everybody's face.
There's something deeper going on with it all, though.
Yeah, that's right.
And Dylan has an identity crisis. He can't do fuck off from 9.
No, Dylan gave us all identity crises about his career.
He gave
including
us,
Ron Rosenbaum.
What'd you say?
McLuhan in Understanding Media does that whole big trip. What year did that come out? 63?
64.
Hardcover is 63. Paper
No,
is
64. 64.
Okay. Wow, that's late.
Let Randy come in on the spot.
Oh, I just want to finish this thought, if that's okay.
Yeah, finish your thought.
McLuhan's in that book saying, I watched TV, JFK looked like the good sheriff, and Nixon looked like the robber baron who was going to rob
lawyer, the corrupt lawyer.
Yeah, the corrupt lawyer who was going to rob the widow's land.
Yeah.
Now, okay, this is being presented as revelation in '64. The literati are going, boy, that's intelligent. David Brinkley in 1960 on NBC TV, in a special, said, I like neither of the two candidates in an editorial because they're both just boring middle management guys. So here's a guy with an incredible perception in the major media, shut out, and here's McLuhan dipped into the situation with nothing to say except the boring, obvious, and we're being sold him as a seer.
No, but Tom, here's the mistake.
McLuhan's wrong about everything because he never went to a rock concert either until '74.
Yeah, well, thanks to Michael Murphy.
He was leaving out a lot of Dionysian media.
Right.
You were kids and you were seeing fucking concerts in '68. McLuhan's operating from this limited sphere of what they told him to say.
Right. Now here's the thing about McLuhan. The reason
that's why he's obsolescent in Dylan rules.
But in the future,
it's because McLuhan does.
When you're
and he never hits talk.
Yeah,
either.
but let me finish.
Well, I was finishing. You were starting.
Yeah, let me start. When you say that in future symposia, you're gonna have to say this. The reason McLuhan became well known was during the debates. He wrote an article about that in 1960. All right, that's what drew attention to McLuhan.
But still, you have the time lag. His article probably came out the next day or a day or two later. Brinkley said it the day of the first debate. He said they both came off as boring middle management
So
types.
McLuhan probably
a perception I don't think McLuhan ever got to until he died.
No. McLuhan's
still operating in these fake myths he's making up, making them sound important.
You're underestimating the reason why British intelligence had to use
I'm
McLuhan.
overestimating McLuhan.
Yes, but
did a good first book, though.
But you're underestimating why the British intelligence had to use McLuhan, because McLuhan's right. His first commentary on television was in '48, okay? The first politicized convention. Okay, that's nobody knows that, but it's in Explorations magazine.
The first politicized convention.
The first televised convention. He commented and explained it in ways that nobody could pass from at 48, and that was published in Explorations 50.
Democrat or Republican?
I don't know. Can't remember. Truman comes to mind. What was? Yeah, it seems to be the Truman one. So that'd be Democratic. So the thing is that you have to see that McLuhan drew attention in 1960 with those statements. 1964 is a collection of.
That's very key. 48.
What?
The Democratic Convention is the convention that established Strom Thurmond
right.
as a national force, because he said the entire Southern delegations from 11 states will leave if the mayor of Minneapolis, Hubert Humphrey's civil rights plank, was put in.
Right.
And the Dixiecrats were born.
But see,
and ever since, so maybe McLuhan was there creating Strom Thurmond, too.
No, the thing.
Huh?
No, he wasn't.
He would have noticed if everybody left the convention, right?
That wasn't.
Was that in the article?
No, it's about the form. He didn't even care about the content of the TV convention.
Well, form in politics is action.
Right.
A seeming action.
The kinetic space. So
well, if the form is wrong, Strom Thurmond is not known.
You're distracting. I wanted to get to the point. So in 1960, he gets attention because he analyzes the debates in what's perceived as a new way. All right. Understanding media consists of essays that he wrote in 61, 62, 63. It's a grab bag put together. All right. Half the essays were written by Ted Carpenter, which nobody knows. The thing is that you don't want to quote Understanding Media as the beginning of McLuhan. McLuhan began in 1960.
Oh no, I was just talking about a specific event he was talking about.
Yeah,
and when it was published.
But yeah, in 64, that's where you don't. I'm helping you correct that. Say that it was done in 1960, because that's when it was done.
Yeah, but I'm still saying, even if he published the article, I don't know if it came out within hours of their debate.
Right.
The first of it, did it?
Brinkley had not.
Was it on the stands?
Whatever
like faster
Brinkley
than Brinkley
said,
got on the microphone?
Brinkley is irrelevant. The thing is,
no,
now,
it's very, very important.
Now we go on to British intelligence.
The only point I'm bringing up is McLuhan is sold as giving us perceptions that are supposed to be so incredible. So you got kids today that will read that and say, boy, that's intelligent. But it's meaningless. It's meaningless.
You know what I mean?
He did bring out the...
Didn't he? Isn't that what he said?
He bring out the...
The way they looked, the president, that Reagan, that Nixon looked a certain way, Kennedy looked another way. Isn't that what he was saying?
Yeah.
He didn't talk about what they said.
Right.
No, more importantly, they both looked like boring middle management
but who would
types.
say that? I mean, you wouldn't hear somebody like these people that are TV people say.
David Brinkley said at the day of the
They
debate.
would analyze all their talk as if that wasn't all it was about.
And that's why David Brinkley never understood what was happening.
Read his new book. It's better than all McLuhan's.
So his discussion points.
Yes, have you read it?
Rather than the
David Brinkley's new book
Brinkley
is so
was a
radical.
jerk. He was talking about content. He missed the whole point. That's why Brinkley was out of it.
No, he was talking about what they exactly were visually.
No.
What they exactly were visually.
No.
They were,
Yeah.
Who they were.
Yeah.
Their
Middle management. That was irrelevant because you can't deny the charismatic effect of Kennedy via television.
Via television.
Yeah.
He wasn't charismatic until like 62.
No, but
he got really charismatic. He looked terrible in the debates.
Yeah, yeah. So we're getting distracted. Let's go back to McLuhan and Dillon. The point is that Dillon...
I just like bashing McLuhan. It's fun.
Well, that's all right. Well, we all bash him. I mean, that's what up there for any is I explain how I use McLuhan.
It's $1 million bash.
I use McLuhan for British intelligence. That's what I did in '54. Have you read up? You read it. You read it in the bathtub, where I explain how.
I read everything in the bathtub.
Right. So Dillon.
That's what killed Jim Morrison.
So McLuhan comes back in 91, 92, 93. Okay, with the Gulf War when the British finally.
Wait, Dillon. What did you say?
Yeah, McLuhan.
McLuhan.
Yeah, McLuhan. He's got it sewed down because British intelligence runs the show after the Gulf War. Okay, so McLuhan's going to be part of the 90s. That's inevitable. Now Dillon puts out albums of songs of other people, not original work, which doesn't happen till now. So Dillon, as part of that American Rockefeller zone, is kind of weak from 91 to 97. But since Lady Di got killed,
nobody put out his original liner notes, which are extensive.
Well,
on World Gone Wrong. Did you read that?
Yes, but he was not.
Did you read it?
Look, the main effect of the new album is we're talking the Pink interpretation, not art. The Pink Machine. The Pink Machine said Dillon's been nowhere, and all of a sudden
he's back.
Yeah, okay, that's what we're talking about. Right. That's the fact among the machines. Now, the reason he's back is British intelligence had a blow with Lady Di dying. All right, so British intelligence is in trouble.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
British intelligence is in trouble from this point on. They've been running the show from 90 to 97.
Well, I know that.
Now that Bob surfaces.
I thought you said you checked and they had nothing to do with her dying.
They didn't. But British intelligence is in trouble.
They should have kept her alive.
British intelligence, as part of the British moniker, is in trouble due to the machine's interpretation of what happened to Lady Di. All right? Fate conspired to kill Lady Di accidentally. She wasn't murdered. She died accidentally, all right? But the machines then interpret that as a blow on the Queen, which is the whole problem. That's British intelligence. British intelligence finally, and Prince Charles is finally over. Bob wins, and then 98 is when we'll see Bob surface. British intelligence has only ruled this thing for 7 years. Now, Dylan, as a Rockefeller, if he connects with me, he could become significant, or at least help resolve the issue of the Bob Dean issue. That's the point.
What's the really bad thing about the Bob Dean issue?
The bad thing?
Yeah, the unhealthy consequence for the great new joy that's coming along. What's the thing that most needs to be resolved about the Bob Dean issue? So that we can have our days of happiness.
Yeah. What needs to be resolved is that should I have known about him?
About?
Because he's the one thing I don't know about.
Is Dean.
Yes.
The wild card
He's
is
he's a wild card. And Lost Highway. We lose the fucking highway from 60-90 if Bob and Connie lockdown rule. The highway would get fucked if Bob Dean was not, if it was real and was something that I had not taken into account. Right? That's the mystery. And since I haven't had a chance to interact with Dylan for years...
Oh, it's going to be helpful when you do.
Yeah.
Because he was already talking about the glottal thing. Remember? What was his name when he did the Blues Project album?
Who, Dylan?
Yeah, like 62. No, it wasn't the Blues Project. It was earlier. It was the Acoustic Blues Project.
Yeah, what was
They
his
needed a
name?
name for him because Columbia, when he said Blind Boy Grunt.
Yeah. Captain Beefheart versus
So
the
we're
grunt
dealing with
people. That's what Zappa's
So we're
doing.
dealing with
Captain
that.
Beefheart versus the grunt people.
When Bob Dean surfaced on the radio, wasn't he doing the
He never surfaced on the...
Umberto Echo thing, or was that a different Bob?
He's never been on the... Well, I don't know if he's been on the radio.
All the Holy Grail stuff before Bob shows up on.
Oh, Randy
Holy
missed it
Grail?
all.
You mean Bob Marshall?
Bob Marshall.
What a
Yeah.
director.
Was he doing he was into the
Don't worry, I didn't.
No, I'm saying it gets better when you leave. That's how good you are.
I know.
What-
You
what-
maintain the atmosphere from without.
the homeopathic resin.
But wait, Terry had a question.
No, let's deal with Scott
He
first.
did, it
Hold
was
on.
Bob Marshall. That was
No, but I have a point. The reason why Bob Marshall caused the surfacing of Bob Dean, as far as I know, the why it came up.
Oh, the Zappa interview? Was that it?
No.
That put the pressure
Bob
on?
Marshall's on the radio. He's my friend. I know Bob Marshall. I don't deny that he exists.
When was he born? That's one thing I don't know. I don't know anything about Bob Marshall.
Bob Marshall was born in, say, the early 40s. Early
Wow.
40s.
And
Okay.
that's the one guy we really don't know much about.
Right. Yeah, he's a fucking.
And he's the best interviewer of the three.
Yeah.
He makes the others look pitiful.
That's right. Yeah, and he sounds like me, but that's because he was in. See, I've known him since when he was a young man in the 50s.
I think he was there when Connie hugged Zappa.
Well,
This is Bob Marshall. And Connie doesn't hug people
We can
around
answer these
Dean or
questions.
Dobbs, does
We'll
she?
answer again.
There's
Tom's
something about
questions-
this guy. This is very pertinent. Stop your damn tangent. This is
His questions
pertinent.
are close to the answers, but if I
I mean, this
don't-
Bob Marshall guy's the best.
Yeah, Bob Marshall.
Can we return to some penetrating?
No, yeah, we'll get. No, this is important.
Ooh,
Bob
penetrating.
Marshall. Okay, Bob Marshall.
That's Nancy's job.
Bob Marshall
Can we return to some penetrating response?
was a friend of mine for years. Okay.
To match penetrating.
Yeah. So
Randy,
Bob-
I haven't stopped the penetrating
So Bob
responses.
Marshall, he was a patient of Carolyn Dean,
Oh.
Dr. Carolyn Dean, which was
Oh.
Connie. All right.
That is a breakthrough.
I'd never heard this before. Any of you guys know this?
What was she treating him for?
Here's Bob saying I've been off the thing all day. Now we finally get a revelation.
For treating for.
Tape? Was the tape machine on?
Yes.
Or we
It's still on, yes, it's rolling.
Can you get off, Bob? I want to go
I
back
want
to
to know what
Bob.
you.
Let's talk about Dylan.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Let me finish that fucking thing.
Terry has a question, too.
You guys go, oh, that's good, that's good. I never get to it.
It was good enough. That's why. Let's move
A
on.
little truth, yeah, deal with it. So anyway,
It was good enough.
Bob Marshall had chronic fatigue for working for me.
Okay.
Oh, now it comes
yeah,
out.
yeah.
He was paying
Yeah,
Marshall.
yeah. Well, I set the whole fucking Zappa
I
thing
have
up.
that myself.
He was paying Marshall.
I was paying Marshall. He's working for me.
She writes about it in
No,
her
wait, I'm
book.
confused.
Yeah. So,
She cured
hey,
mine.
let me finish.
Okay.
So, but I only take 30
Wait, she
seconds.
understands you. Don't talk to her that way.
I will. 30. She doesn't know the new part. She understands what she's heard, but there's more to come.
Oh, he's turning on you, Nancy.
So
ISIS.
Bob Marshall, and you're
ISIS
next.
is coming.
You're fucking in. You're that. No, not you. Anyways.
I'm in. Don't worry about that,
Yeah,
baby.
you
I'm
got-
still
yeah,
on
yeah,
camera. That's all that
yeah,
counts.
So,
McLuhan would say I look like the evil sheriff.
yeah.
Visual is all that counts.
So Bob Marshall goes to Connie, gets helped and treated.
Chronic fatigue
okay?
syndrome.
Many people were listeners to CKL and were in Carolyn's office, Connie's office, and they kept seeing Bob Marshall there, and they noticed this little something between them. It was a bit different, so they fucking
What?
assumed that was his wife.
What was going on between them? Why would they assume this?
Well, because she knew that her husband had sent him there, so she gave him special treatment. Okay?
Oh.
Sent me.
Wait,
Yeah. None of the other patients could say that because they didn't know Bob Dobbs.
so do you have Epstein Barr?
And they don't know
what was
they don't
it?
know who Connie's connected to me. Remember, it's in the vet.
Run
They
of the
don't
mill
even know about me. So
Just
Connie,
run of the mill.
So Connie has a special. So you know what they decided? That Bob Marshall was Bob Dean because they figured they had Connie's name, Carolyn Dean, which was her cover name. Yeah,
That was good.
So then Bob Dean is mistaken for Bob Marshall, and that's where it all started, because of the connection to Carolyn Dean, which was Connie's public name as a doctor in Toronto.
Man, ooh, we got a
And
lot
I
out
start
of
hearing
on
about
this,
this.
Terry.
By 87, 88, I start hearing about this. I said, what's this Bob Dean shit? Took me a long time to figure out that.
Did we ever answer Scott's question about the physical body? Now, is the Dobbs body 75 or is it
Dobbs
40,
model?
48?
Dobbs
I said body.
Now let's go to Terry's question.
I said Bob.
He has a question.
That's an old British intelligence
Bob Dylan
trick.
As a Rockefeller.
Yeah, it's American culture.
He's wrong. We just let him go.
Rockefeller being American culture, Bob Dylan being American culture.
Yeah, Beatles are British intelligence, and Dylan is.
Randy'd say Orson Welles was a
American.
Rockefeller. It's all
this
true,
is
right?
transfer.
I was too literal for
No,
you.
yeah. No, it's a machine. Bob Dylan's culture has to work for the money system.
Find out.
Yeah, he can't get out of it.
What'd you say? The criticism was too literally critical. You said that in the first show.
Yeah.
That was
So
great.
Dylan is working for America's Rockefeller, and the Beatles work, and that's why the
Who are the Beatles working for? British intelligence?
Yeah, of course.
They're in their money flowing.
Well, look at what they did, too. They were subverting
When
everything.
did the Beatles come in? After they killed Kennedy. Read LaRouche. LaRouche says that the British intelligence killed Kennedy.
Was there an 8-man team shooter team?
No.
How many? He enacted it in my garage.
I ain't going into that.
He enacted the whole thing in my
you'll all
garage.
get fucking
I
killed.
know.
Yeah, you know some of it.
Well, how many?
I helped trigger. Ooh, trigger.
They don't know anymore.
Yeah,
I
okay,
helped
next-
trigger his associations.
topic.
Wait, I
What the hell
returned
is-
him.
What the hell is Fialka
I
doing?
returned him to the. Remember, I returned you to the 6th floor.
Fialka's directing now, yeah.
Yeah.
I know the mechanics, but I don't know the principles involved.
Whoever's not here.
So Dylan represents the virus, the retrovirus, trying to stop, but wreaking havoc, and finally giving up, and it almost killed him to do it, to stop.
Jesus.
And it took me to concentrate on
All I
it.
can say is Jesus.
For the second time, practically.
Yeah. It's almost like 30 years from July 66, you know.
You know where
60
Dylan's.
Spring 97, it's same 30-year cycle.
You know where Dylan's next concert was before the accident? Do you know where he was scheduled to play 2
Where?
days later?
Where?
The Yale Bowl.
Oh.
What does that tell you? And he's talking about Ron Rosenbaum, Skull and Bones. Ron Rosenbaum was a Skull and Bones.
Is that why he employed the Christian?
Bush said,
Because-
"Get on down there, take care of
Yeah.
that motorcycle."
He was working against the Beatles. He was going against the Gnostic thing. That was
He
the
had
icon.
destroyed the Beatles. Yeah, he had gotten them to impersonate him. Then they became his puppets. And his next concert was at the Yale Bowl, and Bush couldn't have that.
Except for an audience, I mean.
What?
I always wondered why you employed the Christian myth, except for because he had an automatic audience with that. But
He was doing it media warfare, and he was getting vicious. That's in '77. That's when British is looking like. So he gets look publicly crazy, but it's desperate. He's working for the Rockefeller machine to counter the Rothschild edge, which starts in '77, '79. That's his religious period.
The Dylan Show is the last.
What?
Bob is bipartisan. You're the fulcrum between Rothschilds and
Yeah,
the,
uh,
I'm the Pentad manager.
Do you prefer one to the other?
No, I like them all. I had no problem. It's all fat. It's nothing to me.
That's the Butler genes. You can get along with any of the ruling elites.
I love Shelley Fabares as much as I like Bobby V and Bobby Dylan.
Nothing makes you happy.
Right. Slack is not happiness.
That's why we're happy all the
That's why
time.
Dylan looks the way he does,
Yeah.
right?
Oh man.
He's the Bob Dean part.
I mean, is he trying to sell an album with that cover on Newsweek? He invented not selling it. He invented looking dour. He had Freak Out before they had Freak Out. He invented looking that way.
And Zappa agrees. Zappa said Dylan's doing it. That's great. But
It gave me hope to get on the radio. He
No.
was the only guy doing it.
Yeah, he
when I
didn't-
heard Like a Rolling Stone, it confirmed that I should continue.
No.
And
he
Dylan had
didn't-
already
he didn't say
retired.
that. He didn't say that. He said that he was happy Dylan was doing it. That it got out. That we got out. But then
He Dylanized him.
Dylan retired and Frank had to come in.
Yeah, but Dylan never had to go to the Tomcat in Torrance and play Louie Louie. He'd bypassed all this shit. He'd bypassed everything. All of it.
That's because he had the name Bob.
So do you care to,
Oh, Terry had a question, didn't he?
no, I'm done.
Oh, you're done?
do you care
Well, then get out of here then.
to go further with, you mentioned that Bob and Connie in the future with
Ooh.
Jay and Nicole look
Yeah.
like
Oh,
You wanna hear some
boy.
details?
That was the Swiss picnic compared to what's going to happen.
Well, once on the radio in Toronto, this caller who's in the book, Sean, a good young guy, came up with a smart question. He goes, well, if it's lockdown Bob rule 1990 to 2020, what happens after 2020? And I said, well, that's when Bob has a big battle with the Church of the Subgenius. That's when all hell breaks out within the fucking church. In other words, they rule the world and then they fuck up and have a battle.
Maybe that's why they're having the drills, Bob.
Yeah.
For your imminent warfare against them.
Look to July 6th.
The Exodus is all just a smokescreen then, huh? They're not returning.
Look to July 6th, 1998. The day
We're
after
getting some
X
revelations
Day.
today.
The day after X Day.
What is it, July 6th?
Yeah.
Is
Look
the anniversary of...
You make sure you turn on the radio. That's
I'm going to stay in bed, baby. I need some rest.
Because that's the day after.
I'm going to go down in the basement.
What are Stang and them going to say when the X's haven't come?
Oh, you think they're going to come?
Well, they're not coming. They came in 1988 and helped
Bob's
me win
going to carpet
They
bomb
came in.
them.
It's on the radio.
Dark skies, Bob. Sky God,
Let
Bob.
me answer your question. You're
I'm just tying it together.
No. You tie it after I say my point. In February '88, they came. And they helped me knock out Charles and Turner Taxes and Romanoff on the Secret Council 10, and that's on the tapes right in there.
Oh, yeah.
That was the end of
Well,
February.
we know that.
That's when we had the election.
We know
that. So then they then brought Stang onto the station in April '88, and they had a shout-out between me and him.
So what do the Exodus want in return? Your archive? Now that you have the Secret Council 10 archive? What do they want?
But I was relating to the question.
What do they want?
You sidetracked on.
Between Connie and
Oh, right. So the
They
church,
want Connie.
so you have this war between Bob and the church. Well, obviously the church is Connie. So I laid it out years ago to Sean. Now, how that war takes place is worse than any scenario that Stang projects as what's going to happen to the world when the X's come. So Stang's projecting the X's are going to come and destroy everybody, except the subgeniuses. Well, what he's projecting is the battle between Bob and Connie, which will destroy everybody, the church. If
Nancy's smiling about this.
Oh, which is the reason why, who would imagine?
Who would imagine?
Position?
Yeah, who would imagine it? Yeah.
You have the battle,
subgenius
the symptoms of the mythic government as being the war between God and
Yeah. It's probably arguing, Bob and Connie arguing over who's God.
But that already happened. Mythic stages.
Right. The mythic stage is from 70. Look at the dates. Mythic stage is 72 to 77, retrieving 45 to 60. All right. It's after 77 that you only have Bob and Connie till 90. And so the acting out of the battle between Bob and Connie happened between 77 and 90 already between them. But it'll surface in machine media forms after 2020.
Well, what was that battle?
Between me and Connie.
Yeah.
That's between us.
That was private.
Yeah, it was private, but it will come out later.
You make it sound mutually agreed upon. Do both of you...
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
No, did both of you have the same reasons for the battle?
I imagine.
Oh, so it was an agreed upon kind of thing? Symbiotically?
It was. We didn't know how real it was.
Are you sure her reasons were the same as yours?
No, that was with the fight.
Oh, that's what one of the fights was?
Yeah. That was the fight. Or what the hell was the reason we're doing this?
What the hell are we fighting about, honey?
And then I'd give my reason. That's not the fucking
Clean the goddamn kitchen.
And I'd give the goddamn reason, and she'd get fucking violent because my reason didn't agree with her reason.
I think what we're seeing...
July 98, it'll be real.
No, it won't come out till after 2020.
See, I have a theory that it was
somewhere
over
in there.
something very small between Bob and Connie.
Well,
Maybe even like
Back and
lint
forth
or
lint.
something, you
Furry
know?
lint, yeah,
Yeah, it
very
was over
good.
lint.
Yay! He's going to who's
And
forgotten furry
they're
lint.
such mighty entities. Once the battle began, it all went,
That's right.
you know?
Yeah.
It might have been over Bob taking it off my cigarette even. And Connie saying, get that out of your mouth.
And Angela.
But once it escalated,
Angela picked up on that.
probably had,
oh, don't get personal now.
probably had something to do with the half come.
Angela's
Susie
working,
picked up.
Angela's working for British
hey,
intelligence,
let's get
baby.
personal.
Toronto.
Why the
Toronto.
hell? Why the hell
Toronto,
is the
British
street?
intelligence.
The street in Lost Highway is the street that Susie lives on. Tell me
Let's
why.
get personal.
Yeah, tell me why. Since I'm bringing up the
It
personal.
was a
battle.
warning to Jury
We-
when you and I were both apprehensive about Jury and Susie's relationship. But we already passed through that and saw it's a wonderful, happy thing.
Well, that's bullshit. No.
That's not bullshit.
No.
Oh, you still think it's an ominous kind of thing?
Oh yeah. I
Well,
think.
talk about
I
that.
think. I think.
See, I passed through it. I worked it out with the movie and you. I put it down after our phone call.
yeah.
So you know some more preliminary. You've done some more
yeah.
research on it.
I mean, it's interesting. Jerry is.
He's done some more research on this. You didn't even tell me anything before this interview.
Right, this is new stuff for you.
Oh, you just had Randy.
Now
doing
you'll
that
be
stuff to throw
quiet.
me
Now
off.
you'll be quiet. You want to listen
I've
to
been
this.
quiet the
Yeah.
whole day.
I'm the director, but I'm on, well, I try to be impartial. I
Yeah.
try to
You
No,
try to be
be impartial.
Bob Marshall.
Impartial.
See,
Just kidding.
Lost Highway.
Yeah, I won't put much words in my mouth. I mean, you know. Just
I won't put your. Okay,
The
go.
secondary level of Lost Highway.
Deep down.
Yeah, the secondary level. The first level is what happened to Bob Dobbs and Bob Dean and who took over what. All right.
Right.
Now, Jerry starts to promote Bob Dobbs in 91, 92, all right? And he sets up things. So Jerry is doing an after image of 77 to 90 by promoting Bob Dobbs. So Jerry is accused of being a dupe of Bob Dobbs and is excommunicated by Stang the day I arrive here in February 15th, 1993.
So they were giving you a hard time. Over the phone and by mail saying,
Just by mail. And
Mail.
I never
saying
was-
stop
never-
doing that.
You're
Yeah.
gonna
I'm Bob Dobbs, right?
Yeah.
This kind of stuff.
That was the Inquisition.
It's still going on, Randy.
See, that's his limited.
No,
It's
wait,
getting
don't
worse.
get distracted. Let me finish. So Jerry had to go through all this media shit, all this media castigating of him.
Yeah.
When gray areas got in there, Jerry
Sure.
had a little, Jerry had his own life to live, and he says, "I don't know if this is working out for me." I mean, Bob, there's a lot of people fucking yelling about me because I'm promoting Bob.
Celebrated rejection.
Yeah. So what happened is that Jerry is, let's assume he got taken over by Bob. All right. Let's assume that track
Wait a minute. Let's assume Jerry got taken over by which Bob?
by me.
And you are?
Bob Dobbs.
Okay.
Okay. So Jerry, therefore, is, since nothing exists anymore, he can only reflect Bob Dobbs' life with great detail because he's being Bob. He's working for Bob. So obviously Jerry is going to be taken over like happened to Bob Dobbs, Bob Dean.
Okay.
And Lynch's genius is that he shows that. And he picks the right street because Jerry goes through what Bob Dean, Bob Dobbs went through. He's in the middle of it now, and I don't know if we should pray, but he's in big
Which
trouble.
way? P-R-E-Y or P-R-A-Y?
Both.
Oh.
Both. So that Jerry has been so many people, when he got involved with Susie, he changed for many people.
Well, the milieu of Lost Highway in that area is pornographic Hollywood. Pornographic, evil Hollywood.
Yeah.
Bourgeois terrorists.
Yeah.
So we were worried about Jerry as the bohemian
Victim of the
No,
bourgeois
I wasn't going to say
terrorists.
victim. I was going to say a stalwart.
Yes.
Didn't he weather the storm from Stang?
Now all this happened.
So he's a stalwart.
Yeah, but
so
Tom-
we're worried about him being
Right.
fucked with by
Not
yet an
me.
even deeper
I wasn't
mob.
worried because I did not know this was going on from October till February.
Mr. Eddie's behind the
Yeah.
pornography.
So when I come out
on
here,
Deep Down.
when I come out here in June, I find out from Jerry by February.
Well,
March.
we talked on the phone.
But when I come out here in June, no, I hadn't talked to you. We hadn't connected yet. We connect on June 17th with Over the Love album. That's when we bonded.
Oof.
So I come out here and I hear about how everybody's been altered reacting to Jerry and Susie. In their mind, Jerry has changed. All right? That's
Yeah,
what
I kept
everybody
hearing
tells me.
that from
So
everybody.
that's when I found out from you and other people. So then I didn't remember that Digby,
Digby Deal?
what's it called?
Deep Dell Drive.
And you told me that. I go, holy
Yeah.
fuck. So I realized. So I told Jerry this. I said, Jerry, he wasn't in any mood to take it in, but I told him,
Well, what's more, the car repair place that Richard Pryor runs is at the corner of La Brea and Wilshire, and that's directly on the way to the Pozo,
Wow.
where it all began.
Right. So
Anytime you go to the Pozo and you pass that.
So what you have here, since Jerry did work for Bob Dobbs, whether he should or not, I never encouraged him to, but he did do it for, let's say, 7 years, 90 to 97.
So there wasn't that kind of official thing like with Bob Marshall.
But here's the important point, is that Jerry ended up proving my point that I was the only one around, imitating what happened to me by being taken over.
Ah.
Well, you're speaking of Bob Dean now.
The Bob Dean, Bob Dobbs question is the old Jerry Fialka and the new Jerry Fialka.
He's a fractal for Bob.
Yeah, he's a fractal replay of
Boy,
that.
that sort of answers your question, Scott.
Which question?
I mean, there's further confusion on the matter of Bob Dean being taken over.
Evolution.
Yeah, and then you get this. The irony is on October. When was the thing we went the other night? What's today? This 18th, 16th. Dave Neufeld's birthday. The guy who made the Bob's Media College album for Nelson Dahl. On that night, we are sitting there, Bob and Connie, Jerry and Rick, are sitting there. The only audience, except for this somebody who's looking for Fred Wilford. Well, that's not relevant. She never got into it at all. We have a private audience to the Mr. and Mrs. Burnett and all the other gang.
Wow.
For us.
That is pure lynch.
That is pure fucking
pure
lynch. And I imagine it's part of this working out the Deep Dell dilemma that's in Lost Highway.
Deep Dell dilemma.
Yeah. So that's...
Have you seen it, Jerry?
No, he hasn't seen Lost Highway.
The evil guy, one of the evil guys that's the underling of Mr. Eddie.
Yeah.
The evil guy that's running
He
everything.
gets a skull?
Yeah, he gets impaled on a coffee table.
Yeah.
And he drips for a long time.
Yeah, but you
His
didn't
skull
say
is
that.
wedged.
What about him? You were saying the evil guy.
Well, that's his residence, is Deep Dell.
Yeah, it's his place.
It's
right,
his
yeah.
place.
So we don't know whether it's.
And we got Henry Rollins in there. Jerry and I talked about Jerry, or the guy taken over by Bob Dobbs, and I talked about on a show about Rollins.
Who? You and
One of
I
the few
did.
questions Jerry ever answered. Jerry went into this eloquent thing about, Rollins went to military school, and that's probably a bad influence on the subculture of punk, because it should be people doing the right.
Okay, but here's the mystery.
Who would guess that Jerry would get eloquent over Henry Rollins?
But the guy who gets impaled on, we don't know the identity, whether that is.
And his name is Andy.
Here's the question: we don't know if it's Sally or her husband, Bill or Susie or Jerry. 5 people. We don't know who gets impaled. That's the mystery. Hasn't been worked out yet. Okay.
True.
Well, that's what we're waiting to see.
Okay, so how about some of the other stuff?
So
how about the thing on the way to the Poe Zone, where Jerry and Susie frequently are together?
Well, that's Richard Pryor.
An old beat-down car
Black
place,
culture.
where the
What?
guy who's replaced works.
Or
the guy who replaces
Who are
Bill
Susie and Jerry a holopathic retrieval of? An aspect of Bob Dylan, early black culture. They are addicted to black
are?
culture. Susie and Jerry
Are
addicted to black culture. The
they
Billie
are.
Holiday.
They are the Odetta.
That's Richard
But
Pryor.
Bill and
That's
Susie-
Richard Pryor.
See, Jerry and Susie are like more of Richard Pryor Odetta.
Right.
Susie and Bill are more the band. Big Pink.
Did you, Jerry
Bill's
and who?
a big
Just say that
band
again.
freak,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. What did you just say?
Big band freak. Loves the band.
Did you just say Jerry and Susie?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. So
and then
together,
Susie
here's
and
the-
Bill are big band?
Yeah, so here's the tension here.
Yeah.
Another Canadian American fake-o Secret Service thing.
Yeah.
Because Jerry and Susie together invoke the Dylan thing. They're into all this black music. That's all Dylan
Yeah,
listens
right.
to is black
Which he's
music.
doing now.
But Bill, on his own, goes for these Pinks from Canada, the band, who Dylan got rid of a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't mean that as a national slur.
Right. Well, I'm not a Canadian, remember that. I lived in Canada.
I just wanted to get that on record on camera. That's
right.
why I brought that up.
So he's the big band.
He's a band fan,
Yeah.
and Jerry and Susie are more natural. They're at the source. They're into.
So would Bill be second nature, their first nature?
Bill is first nature, because the band are more obviously about ecology, aren't they? What
I think
became
the black
of the old
culture is
steel
considered natural.
locomotive
No.
the night they drove old Dixie down. I'm sorry, Dixie disappeared.
No, I'd say that blacks. Are
Dylan has nothing to do with ecology.
Blacks are first nature, whites are second nature.
Blacks are second nature.
No,
as a
they're
culture, buying product.
Well, we could
Buying
argue.
product.
I'm
Oh,
just
no,
saying
we
that
can't argue.
They're
Black culture, man.
We can't argue.
Oh shit!
No, black culture is all about first nature. White culture is second nature. They're alphabetized.
Okay, you can argue.
Yeah.
I'm not going to participate.
Second nature television environment.
It's a content and environment.
Okay, we're getting off the subject then.
Yeah.
Well, are there any more ominous overtones for Jerry? And does it even matter if Jerry's replaced?
Well, probably in effect is the fact we're talking about this on camera.
Okay.
But
if
putting it
Jerry's
through a
been
different meaning.
replaced, has he been replaced fully now?
That's what we're waiting to see.
Oh, as I say. So if he's been replaced fully, that will be better for him? Or if he's still Fialka, it would be better for him?
That's why.
Which way will he get out of this
Now
situation?
that's why we got to figure out that's why we got to get Bob Dylan and me together
Yes,
to figure
we
out
do.
the fucking effect of Bob.
Finally.
Yeah, then we'll see how Jerry he'll have to imitate the result of that.
That's right.
So we don't know until we figure out what's happening to me.
I agree with that.
And our friend Mark Free may actually come up with Dylan's
Address. Yes, we're working on that.
I know where he lives.
You got his exact.
Fourth and Alta. I know the house. I don't know the exact address. Why do you want to?
area?
Huh?
Point Doom area near the beach?
No, he bought a house on 4th and Alta, and he planted these. What do you call them? Those tall bushes.
In Santa
What do you call
Monica?
those really thin?
Junipers.
They're really thick. They're not leafy. You know, they have those things that go up. I don't know anything about First Nature, so I wouldn't know the name
Santa
of it.
Italian
Monica.
cider.
4th and Alta.
In Santa Monica.
Yeah, I know Bad Bet. You know Bad Bet, right? Somebody here knew Bad Bet, I think.
He apparently has a house.
I know his caterer, the one that does his macrobiotic.
Oh, yeah, the house.
Always into that too?
I think he still has that place out there, though. I'm sorry, Scott. You're right. I think he still has that place out there. But he bought a place where he lives on 4th and Alta, which used to have no stuff around it. But now it's all planted with all these trees and all this vegetation. You can't see the windows or anything in the house, just the second story.
Did he live there when you could see?
I don't know the answer to that. I heard he had moved in and then added, kept adding all this stuff. About 2 years ago.
Okay, do you know his address up in Point Doom?
I don't know that.
Point Zuma? Or...
Oh, yeah, I used to have it, actually. I sent him a couple of birthday cards.
But he doesn't live there
and
anymore?
And he never wrote back.
Are you saying that he doesn't live at Point Zuma anymore?
No, he still has that house.
But he still mainly lives in Santa Monica?
Yeah.
Okay, 15 minutes to firm up and summarize.
Firm up.
All right.
Summarize.
Well, the best way you have to go to the audience to get their sense of where we're at and what they're interested in.
Well, we can't do that because they're not going to ask me any questions.
Maybe Randy. Let's go back to Randy.
I'm the director.
They're not going to ask me any questions, so to hell with them.
Randy. And what do you want to address? The loose ends.
Well,
the business network.
the loose end is obvious. We have to return to the end of the first 2 hours preceding the first season of Twin Peaks, which is...
Speak up.
You better listen to him, man. Yeah. You better listen to him. Okay. He arranged this.
Listen up. We have to anticipate where the direction will be if Lynch can get the word to get his career back on track, to actually realize the culmination of his cinematic career in the Electric Sky Church of 25 years later, or whatever it will become, if he got it all straightened out so that he could continue some type of cinematic career, because someone will be putting pressure on him to do it. Even though he may, like Dylan, might not want to, but somebody will be putting pressure on him to do it, right?
Right. Can he do a movie without Jack Nance?
And maybe Dylan will work with it.
Yeah.
And
no, I don't think he's the kind of guy Dylan would like.
The significance of what that would amount to.
I just get that feeling.
If he was able to realize something that approximated that.
Didn't you say Lynch is finished, though? Completely?
Yeah. Well, the only way he can do anything is with me.
Jack Nance was in every movie, right?
Yeah, and he died.
Can he work without Jack Nance?
No.
Well, then
that's why he's finished. But he can only work with me. This is his point. He can only...
yeah, but you got to get to Dylan first for...
Yeah, but there's going to be pressure, like you identify the pressure on Dylan to continue with something. He's not going to sit around.
Dylan's finished too.
Furniture in his...
He and Lynch have come to the same point.
No, Dylan, put that out there on his own, whereas you stopped.
No,
Lynch
is, as demonstrated in the
I stopped
documentary, Lynch is the...
That's why he's going.
The essential artist. Every spare moment of his time is devoted to some type of artistic endeavor. That's the way they portray it.
You're speaking of Lynch. Yeah.
So
Renaissance man.
So one of those mediums is film.
Right, and I know what we're trying to get to. We never got to the fucking original question about ideas. That's what we got to deal with. Ideas is obsolete.
Versus perception.
Right, we never did that. That's what his original...
Versus perception.
No, I think we talked about some of his ideas.
No, but we never use these words. We never use these words. We've talked about it, I guess, in a way.
Yeah. Literally.
Why ideas are obsolete.
Right.
And why Lynch was doomed to end up kaput.
So that's the wrap-up.
Yeah.
What is in lieu of ideas, though, Randy?
Perception. That's all there is left, is perception. All the stuff that we've been talking about, all this stuff is how to perceive the proper proportions of...
Well, you got to bear in mind, I'm just asking about Lynch.
So Lynch says...
And we're talking about a guy who says, my idea is fear. My idea of what my movie's about
that's the idea.
is fear.
Yeah, hear what the statement is.
No.
This is a very important point. I'm sorry, I got to bring it up, but it's very important.
That's one idea.
Well, I'm just going to quote the documentary.
Yeah.
Ostensibly, I'm going to take it for face value.
Yeah.
They gave a documentary of his whole life, beginning with the childhood photos. They went through his various forms of media of creativity, in all forms of media, and the second half was devoted to simultaneously all of that as a cinema verite of him filming Lost Highway. So it was all that boiled down to the statement.
Here's the statement.
In the second half, which was, ideas are everything. And everywhere he is looking, no matter where he sees it, in anything, such as Jerry saying that Bob, who they killed at the end of the first two-hour special, was none other than, who was it, Jerry?
The set designer.
The set designer.
Oh, yeah.
In that case, that was the idea, to come up with somebody to do that, and that's where he came. Wherever he finds an idea, wherever it may be, as remote possibly or whatever, but the point is that ideas and conceptualization, in terms of where we are at now on the cusp of...
Bob knowledge is obsolete. Is obsolete.
Bob knowledge is,
So his premise is obsolete.
Can I say something? It'll be the last thing I say today, then you all can talk. So William Carlos Williams said in 1943, there is nothing in ideas, comma, only in things. And Kerouac, that was his favorite quote of William Carlos Williams, and that became Dylan's favorite quote of William Carlos Williams. That was one of the poems that made Dylan go to New York. There is nothing in ideas, comma, only in things. So that sort of describes the Lynch and Dylan careers completely.
Lynch takes the opposite view. It's only in ideas. Dylan went for perception, not in ideas. It's in things. That's perception. That's percepts.
So Dylan and Lynch are playing out Bob and Carolyn, the Connie.
They're playing out the argument. Lynch is for ideas, Dylan's for percepts.
Dylan's Connie and Lynch is trying to be Bob.
Well, in different media, Bob and Connie are different. Remember that it's a figure ground thing. But the key phrase is mise en scene.
Mise en scène.
Mise en scène. Is that how the English Americans say it?
Mise en scène.
Yeah, well, we say it in Paris as mise en scene. Even though the French way you guys think is mise en scène.
And translate that.
But we say it in the American way.
Bob, translate that to some degree. Mise en scene.
Yeah, mise en scene is the props in a theater production. It's the set design. All right. Okay. So the mise en scene is the ground. It's like when you see a play, you look at the actors and they do their drama, and yet there's been a lot of work gone in to set the mood and atmosphere by the props, the mise en scene. So that's the ground, right? The figures are the humans acting. The ground is the mise en scene, the props. So where does Lynch get his guy from? The mise en scene guy, the set designer.
That's right.
So he's trying, that's the mythic part of the stage. That's the technological ground around the human and the drama. So he has the mise en scene play Bob, because he wants you to know that Bob is the ground, the electric ground. So that's the meaning of the death of the mise en scene, which happened in '77, when all grounds disappeared and all you had left was Bob and Connie.
And Bob was killed.
When was Bob killed?
At the end.
Oh, the European movie. For the Rockefellers making a movie for the Rothschilds, they say he's killed.
Well,
that was a fake-out movie.
Yeah, at the end of
Yeah, he wasn't killed in the real American version.
No, but
that was a short 2-hour bullshit thing for the Europeans. So there's the cultural warfare right there. But in the true fact is that Bob, as a mise en scene, as a factor of technology ground, disappears in '77. All you have is Bob and Connie, who have to be figure ground alternating back and forth. This goes back to Scott. So whatever reality they evoke, whatever holy office they do put on as a temporary homeopathic mise en scene, a prop, clothing to sit inside of, it depends which medium was, whether it's going to be Connie or Bob, following the hot, cool male-female thing, right? So Bob and Connie are always becoming different. That's why anybody who interacted, there's only a few people. One of the few people who interacted with Bob and Connie since '81, '82. Bob wasn't visible in Toronto until '84, but he coming up from Dallas and working with Dr. Beater, he would show up at 22 Kenwood with Connie, but only his twin kids would see him, and one fucking guy, a friend of the twins, Ed Pusar, Mr. Eddie. There's the meaning of Eddie, this little kid. And this little kid is the only guy who has experience of, besides my children, of me and Connie before I became public in '87. So it's interesting, he's Eddie. So
tie that back into the perceptions now.
Right. So now ideas.
25 years later.
The battle between Bob and Connie is which came first, the chicken or egg? Which came first, thought or matter or reality? It's an arbitrary split that's exaggerated in Western thinking, and then the integrity of the object in Western thinking. In Asian thinking, it's the integrity of the interval. They don't get caught in the battle between one or the other. They say, well, you can't know, or it's both, or whatever, or the void. They cop out. They don't get particular. They let the interval resonate. So ideas are the Western preference for the non-material part of the interval. And they call that an object, and they think it's a source of objects. Percepts are dealing in the interval, that's non-alphabetic, that's Oriental. So ideas are obsolete. Western culture is obsolete once you get into the 20th century. Lynch, representing the American artist, which is obsolete in the 20th century, he has to be loyal to ideas, which is the cultural baggage that created art. Now when he says that ideas are everything, the question is Lynch talking to the machines their language, because they've got them surrounded like at the end of Blues Brothers, where every fucking rifle's on everybody. That's a good image of the machines covering the humans. They can't move. So Lynch has to talk in the American archetype. So he says ideas are everything, but he could be faking it, right? But I would lean towards him faking it. The closer we prove that he's writing about me. If he's not writing about me, and he doesn't make the production that he has to do in the future, then he meant ideas, and he was wrong. You see what I'm saying? So that brings in Connie. So maybe Connie will say something, but she doesn't know yet.
Let's remember to go to sleep again.
Beg your pardon?
Let's
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the
take your cue.
yeah. So the within the machines, well, forget about what Lynch's motivation is. The point is, ideas are obsolete. Information is obsolete. And what are we left with? Things. And the things are in the machines, and they're talking among themselves. So that's been the dilemma for all the holy offices, is the obsolescence of ideas. And Dylan was an idea person, being a Gemini. They live for ideas. All right. So he's been acting out the dilemma of the idea astrological sign Gemini for 40 years, and
finally threw in the towel.
Yeah, and so I think that's why we have to talk about Lynch and Dylan in the same seminar that we're doing here. Same breath. Okay. That's why they surface now. But that evokes Dean, because Lynch writes the movie about the Bob Dobbs dilemma, and Dylan becomes Eloy, which in my chart is a symbol for creativity, the second Eloy. Okay, he being Eloy is creativity dilemma, and yet that you drop that out and you get Dean. So it's totally consistent that we talk about what we talked about today, based on the issues right here in 1997.
But my impression of what you just said is that we're back to the mathematical uncertainty principle of...
That's what I object to, you saying that I'm uncertainty. I'm certainty. Because, you know, once lockdown Bob rule happens, we get out of that problem, the quantum problem. That's why quantum psychology and quantum sociology are popular now, because they're obsolete. When certainty is a fact from 1990 on, then uncertainty becomes obsolete. So therefore uncertainty becomes what everybody is able to talk about as a fad. It works because it's obsolete. That's why I thought you were saying that I'm the uncertainty principle. I'm the certainty principle.
No. With respect to Lynch, there's still a mathematical uncertainty principle as to whether or not he would continue in some sense 25 years later, but only on the proviso that he contacts you, so where it's still uncertain.
Right, that's right.
Because if that connectedness of destiny being realized in some, coalescence or condensation to actually provide for that, then the wherewithal will blossom into that, but we don't know that. So
so that's why
wrap this up into
here's how to wrap it up.
Okay.
Is that every one of the holy offices is obsolete, irrelevant. That's why I started to sabotage McLuhan through Wired magazine. The only reality that can come through in any sense of inspirational behavior is from Bob and Connie. So Lynch, Dylan, all these issues are gone. That's why when I razored him, intense laser beamed him in May, he fucking started to get weak. He got sick. So the only thing for anybody to develop reappearances to come through me. That's why Tom would have to give up his devotion to Dylan or whatever the hell he's devoted to. Everybody has to give it all up and become devoted to Bob and Connie. How to express that devotion is what you guys have to figure out, because I'm not trying to be a religion. So you got a problem. You got to find me. This is Mark's problem. He says, we got to get through Beater, Garrett, Dean, and Cosmo Ernst to get the direct hermetic contact with Bob, but he doesn't know how to do it. Because in a way, I'm not here for that. But I am there if you can see it, and then you figure out how to have contact over the bridge of the resonant interval. So I'm the last, greatest, first, beginning scientist, artist, comedian, politician, whatever you want to call it.
Precisely. When's Connie's birthday?
What?
Connie's birthday?
First day of spring, March 20th.
March
1922. What? Now, Terry wanted to say something.
I'd say that.
1 minute.
The way to get you is you just have to give up your addiction to ideas.
You have my addiction? You have to...
No, for me to give up my addiction to ideas, then I find you.
That means, and that means you can explore ideas indifferently, and you'll be very encyclopedic. And not mean it, and you'll be involved in Phatic Communion, which is the title of the book, Phatic Communion with Bob Dobbs. Okay? Okay.
Thank you very much, Bob. I just want to say Bob used none of my ideas today as a springboard, unlike the first show. Which means the show is a failure. Hold on. The show was a failure, and there's nothing Jerry Fialka likes more than a failure. Or is it really Bob Dobbs taking over Jerry Fialka?
Ladies and gentlemen, signing off now. Keeping in mind, as Marshall McLuhan said, is there life before death? Thank you.
Is there sex after death? No. And look who shows up right on cue.
Apparently remembered or had a vision of the killer. The sheriff is on his way to her now, and he'll meet me afterwards. Diane. When two events happen simultaneously pertaining to the same object of inquiry, we must always pay strict